Welcome, welcome, friends. Hello, hello. I accidentally started my timer too early, so it ran out already. Don't worry, you didn't miss anything. Just gonna wait a minute here for folks to trickle in. Hello, welcome, welcome. I accidentally started my timer too soon, so it's at 0. I apologize. How we doing, folks? I'm just gonna go ahead and let's just switch windows here. Hello. Hi, everyone. How we doing? Hey, no problem, Dion. And yeah, I mean, this is, you know, partially because there's no class tonight, but also because I really wanted to test out my new streaming setup before my regularly scheduled stream tomorrow. So this just turned into an unexpected opportunity. Yeah. So yeah, welcome. Not sure if anybody's going to tune in, but hey, even if I've just got a couple people, that's totally fine with me. I'm happy to have you here and happy to hang out with you tonight in this slightly surprise stream. So yeah, we're gonna have a little fun tonight. Not gonna spend a super long time, but we're gonna yeah test out my setup and also do some interview questions from the bank. So good to have you all here. How's everybody doing today? Also, too, I mean, we don't have class tonight, obviously, because Leon had a family emergency. So I'm very glad that his wife and is doing fine, and I hope that everything's back to normal on Thursday, that we can have our normal class. But I'm excited to be here with you guys tonight. Oh, hey, Maraku, welcome. Good to have you here. Ah, Dion, you made your first official pull request and it got accepted. That's awesome. Wow. Was it for like an open source project? Hey, Jules, welcome. Good to have you here. Hey, yeah. Thank you for the follow, Rianne. Welcome. Excited to see you all. And in case you're concerned, I am still planning on streaming tomorrow night as well at my regularly scheduled time. Originally, I was going to go live after class tonight, but obviously things changed a little bit, so here we are. Oh, it was a project similar to timestamps, like Leon has, but for RWXROB. Okay, cool. I'm not familiar with that, but that's awesome. Hey, Gigi Maribel. Hello, how are you? Yeah, so for those of you who watch my streams regularly, obviously I am in a different location. It is all new. It is all different. I'm in a different room of my house. You got the door to mystery back there. Who knows where that goes? And I have a whole new computer, and I have a whole new keyboard, whole new monitor, whole new mouse. Everything's new. So obviously we got to test it out and make sure it's working, right? Um, so yeah, so first off, how's my sound levels? Can you all hear me okay? Anything weird about the sound or anything like that? Are we good? To be clear, I didn't buy this computer just for streaming. I'm not making that kind of Twitch money. I'm not like, I don't know, Pokimane or Amaranth or whoever. This I've been wanting a proper gaming computer for years, and I finally got one, so I'm super stoked. Oh, good. Okay. Audio's good. Thank you so much. But yeah, so I finally got my dream gaming computer, and it also happens to be pretty good for streaming as well. Um, yeah, so we're gonna test some stuff out, and probably also maybe eventually also get some work done. Um, thanks. Yeah, like I say, I've been wanting an actual gaming computer for a couple of years now, and so I'm pretty excited. I got it over the weekend. Getting lots of freezes in the stream. Okay, I also changed my I'm streaming at 60 frames per second now, so you may be able to adjust the quality. You may have to downgrade the quality a little bit. Previously, I was only streaming at 30 FPS. I can always downgrade I can always downgrade if we need to. If a lot of folks are getting glitches, see if you can adjust your quality settings maybe. But yeah, that's good to know. Thank you for telling me. And I can always, if it doesn't work, if it's just too glitchy for folks, um, I can always, downgrade the quality back to 30 FPS like I was doing before. Just let me know how it goes. That's great. This is what we're here for. We're testing stuff out. We're trying stuff. Okay, good deal. And so, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch, so you don't have to look at my giant face anymore. Um, okay, thank you folks for the feedback. That's much appreciated. Um, and so, yeah, another part of my super high tech setup is that my microphone is currently balanced on top of a Funko Pop box, as well as a roll of painter's tape. So, I'm splashing out on my accessories here. And my secondary monitor that I'm looking at right now, is balanced on a table with like a bunch of books. It's like propped up on a bunch of books. So I'm not going to rule out any unexpected catastrophes that may also happen during the course of this stream. Because I've got kind of and also my ring light is attached to the top of my webcam with painter's tape. Yeah. So I spared no expense on this wonderful setup. It's going good. Yeah. Oh, you fiddled with your settings and the glitching went away. Good, 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 good. I'm so glad. Yes, the setup of kings and queens, indeed. Welcome to my fanciness. And also too, like normally for my normal I made money shorting Luna. I assume that's some kind of crypto thing. I have no idea. I'm not on the crypto scene. Oh, hey, Charlie Gunther's welcome. But yeah, so another thing too, normally for my scheduled streams, man, I spend like a couple hours prepping. I'm thinking through my tasks, I'm thinking through my script, things I want to say, things I want to touch on, talk about. I'm winging it tonight, folks. We're in the Wild West. We're just talking about whatever, we're doing whatever. So I want this to also kind of be like a, AMA 20 questions type thing as well. If you got questions for me, as most of you may know, I do work in tech. I am currently a back end developer. I'm in the cohort with you guys. I'm learning alongside you. But I'm currently a back end SQL developer. So I do exclusively back end work. It's the only thing I've ever done. And so branching out into more front end languages, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, is a new experience for me. But I do currently work in the tech sector. So if you folks have any questions for me, you're welcome to ask at any point. I'm happy to answer. As long as it's an appropriate question, I am absolutely happy to answer because I'm so excited that we're moving into the job hunt space. Because you know, I want all of you. I want all of you to be able to get jobs in tech, to be working in tech, um, and because it's a great place to be, for a lot of reasons. And so I want to make sure that all of you, are able to get into this wonderful opportunity. Strike while the iron is hot. Get into tech while it's hot, and make great money, get great benefits, do fun stuff in a good work environment. So okay, I'm just gonna catch up with the chat here. Your dad said he listened to Matt Damon and lost all his money. Okay. Ah. Hello, Kimmy. Welcome. You see SQL everywhere on job postings. Seems like a pretty interesting language. Yeah, so SQL is cool. I really like SQL. And again, that's what I use all day at work. I'm a SQL developer, and I learned all the SQL that I know while working other jobs. So it's not something like I did, I studied or I did a boot camp. And Leon's boot camp is great, but I'm just saying that, for my career, my personal career, I learned SQL on the job. And that's because it's actually not terribly hard to pick up enough SQL to get by. SQL is a good language to just kind of, you can just kind of get in, you can just kind of get in there and just start using it and without knowing anything about what you're doing. So yeah, I would highly suggest picking up a little bit of SQL because it'll make you much more employable. And the reason that is just because SQL's everywhere. It's old. It's one of those languages that has just proliferated since like the 1970s. It's everywhere. Everybody's using it for their databases, for their backends at their at their companies or whatever. And so if you're able to query databases, like query relational databases, that can be really helpful for you. Um, and even too, if your company's not using it, subsystems within your company might use SQL as like as their backend. So individual tools might have a way for you to access them using SQL code rather than the GUI, and that could allow you to do more things more easily. Um, so we got some questions here. I'm going to catch up. Um, how did I get into the back end? I'm currently in IT and attempting to pivot into engineering and development. Yeah. So I started out working as a as an analyst at a health insurance company. And here in the U.S., health insurance is big business, so they need a lot of analysts. I have a college degree in statistics, and so that's kind of went the analyst route, hoping to eventually be an actuary someday. And for my analyst role, we had to do a little bit of, we had to get data out of databases, and, sort of hook up like these super complex Microsoft Excel dashboards directly to the database as like have a live database backend, which was pretty cool. And so I had to learn just like a couple lines of SQL in order to do that. And I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I didn't know what SQL was or even really what programming languages were or how to code, or I thought it was like, more like that movie Hackers or whatever, where, you only coded if you wanted to break stuff, or, you only coded if you wanted to build games. I didn't know how widespread coding was and how useful of a skill that might be. Um, and so I picked up a little bit of SQL there, put it on my resume, as one does when you're straight out of college. You put everything on your resume, right? I only knew like 2 lines of SQL, but it goes on the resume. And that actually helped me get my next job, with an e-commerce company, as an operations manager for their production floor. So the production floor ran on SQL, stored procedures, executing jobs, sending, routing orders around the floor. And so I had to know SQL in order to interface with all the production systems. And so, even if you're not interested in web development, code and like, databases, and if you're interested in the back end, databases are literally everywhere. Databases power the world. They power, the brains of every company. They power logistics. They power, infrastructure. Databases are everywhere. And so, I got this job, at this e-commerce company, and, learned a lot of SQL just on the job, just because I had to in order to keep my job. It was really very much of a crash course for me. Googling things and looking things up on the fly, just so I could do the things that I needed to do to get my job done. And then after that, I kind of burnt out, in e-commerce. Not every place is like this, but e-commerce as a whole tends to be kind of a grueling industry, just because it is, it's 24/7. Think about it. You can order something any time of day from anywhere in the world off the internet, and it's going to be shipped to you. And in order to be competitive, an e-commerce company has to ship things quickly as well. And so e-commerce never stops. It is 24/7. And so I kind of burnt out on that. And then I decided I wanted to go back and maybe, go back to college or something like that, go get closer to family. And so I went back and I worked for the same university that I graduated from in my undergrad, um, and had an analyst role there, and then eventually landed a developer job, just again having those skills in SQL. And I'm not a SQL expert by any means, but again, I know enough, and I have, I interview well. I'll just go right out and say it. I interview well. In-person interviews, I have never, I have never bombed an in-person interview. Now that's now that I say that, when I do go to get my next job, I'll probably, jinx myself. But, having soft skills, is just as important as being able to code. Like Leon keeps saying, you gotta you got to have the soft skills to go with your coding skills. So that was an extremely long answer, but that's basically my, summed up career path so far. And so now I'm a senior developer, um, and so you can come from any direction, any background, get into tech and be successful. And I love my job. It's really great. Like I said, I'm not looking for a new job because I really like my job. I have fun. It's a great work environment. Hey Uzi, thank you. I am well, thank you. Trash Dev says SQL. Ah, yes, the great debate. Is it SQL or SQL? Every place I've worked, we say it's SQL, but I know that there's a little bit there's a little bit of a contention there. So yeah, maybe I'll have to do a poll at some point. Once we get into the back end and you all get a little bit of knowledge in your heads about back end languages and stuff, I might have to do a poll on stream and see what people think. Um, Dion says basic SQL is easy. Joins is where it can get a bit confusing in the beginning. Do you agree? Absolutely. Yeah. So SQL, like I say, it's a database language, right? And in a traditional database, um, you have tables, and tables are just sort of like, think of like an Excel spreadsheet, right? An Excel spreadsheet is like just a place to store rows and columns of information, and that those rows and columns are all related to each other in some way. But sometimes you want something that exists in one table, and to be able to link it to something in another table. So, for example, if I'm thinking about like financial information, maybe I have a transaction, information about a transaction in this table, and I want to link it to details about the products that were purchased in that transaction. Well, you're not going to put the products in it, all the product information in every transaction. That would make a huge table. So instead, you keep the products in another table, and then you link them together using joins. And so there's various different types of joins, and I'm sure we're going to cover this later on in class. But yeah, depending on what kind of join you use, will determine the result set that you get back, how many rows you get back, whether or not you include or exclude certain data. And so yeah, joins can get pretty complicated, especially if the data that you're working with is a little messy. Yeah. We're learning MongoDB for class, right? How does SQL compare to that? Yeah, another great question. So there's different types of databases. SQL has to do with relational databases, and Mongo has more to do with what's literally called NoSQL databases. And so they're just two halves of the same coin. Certain types of databases can be better for storing certain types of information. Um, I mean, I'm not going to say which one is better. I would say that relational databases have been around longer, so they've probably proliferated more. Like more places are going to have relational databases, whereas these Mongo NoSQL type databases are newer. Again, not saying they're bad, and they fit better into the tech stack that we're learning, the MERN stack that we're learning, because once we get to those types like Mongo and stuff like that, we're already going to know like what JSON is and how to interface with them. And NoSQL databases can be, from what I understand, I'm not too familiar with them. NoSQL databases can be better for storing for storing data that doesn't necessarily relate to each other in a nice way. Like with SQL, when you're doing joins and that type of thing, you have to have things that tie your data pieces together, like whether that's a common ID or a common product name or something like that. And so, from what I understand, NoSQL databases are better for kind of data that's less clean. Yeah. Am I standing today, Layla? Yes, I am. Very observant. I have a new setup. It's again, I spared no expense. It is the finest IKEA table. The finest particle board IKEA table, with the legs cranked, extended all the way, and it's almost tall enough, but not quite. So I'm kind of like, it's kind of awkward. I mean, you can't see, but like, again, that's why I have my wonderful mic stand of a Funko Pop and a roll of painter's tape to make my mic tall enough that you can actually hear me. So yes, again, I spared no expense in order to stand, but I figure standing, if I'm going to be talking for 3 hours, standing is better for you. And during the breaks, I'll sit down. It's just good to be to be healthy. Oh, Linda, you were going to study actuarial science before the pandemic started. Yeah, yeah. If you're interested in math and statistics, actuarial science is great. It pays really well. There's a very linear career path as long as you're able to pass the exams. You can absolutely be an actuary. I made a bad choice. I did not enjoy getting a degree in statistics. I got it, but it wasn't fun. And I, yeah, I kind of got out of there just because I was not having a good time. Honestly, but I really admire those who are, good at being actuaries, and because it's not an easy profession. Yeah. For anyone still catching up, do you think we should wait until we're caught up through APIs before you start working on everything for the hunt? I mean, as long as you have some JavaScript under your belt, I mean, the at the very least, go through the checklist and like get your GitHub updated, um, get your LinkedIn profile sorted out, because, like Leon says, you got to let the algorithms marinate and let those bots comb through your profile and put you on the pages of recruiters. So at the very least, get through the checklist. And even if you feel like you're not ready to do the actual hunt, that's my recommendation anyway. The second you learn how to say hello world, it should go on the resume. Absolutely, absolutely. um, like Leon says, you gotta play the game. Don't doubt yourself, don't snitch on yourself, don't sell yourself short, because I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't put SQL on my resume when I only knew how to do like two things in SQL. And honestly, I ended up getting the job, that job at that e-commerce company, because I had SQL on my resume. But then during the interview, all they asked me was whether I knew what a pivot table was, an Excel pivot table. And I said, yeah. And I was able to do the EUE method of explaining. So what I like to say DUE. So define. So you define it, um, and I'm going to get this wrong. So what is it? EU? No. Well, the thing where you define it and then you explain what it is and then you explain how it can be used. I don't know the acronym. I just know the sequence. But yeah, so I mean, that's how I got my second job, is just knowing what a pivot table was. And then learning SQL frantically on the job while I was working and panicking the entire time. But everything was fine. It was all good. Your brother's an actuary and you call him your family math. He is math. Yeah. Yeah. And I am not math. As some of you who have watched my Code War streams may attest, I am not math. So it was not a good fit for me. But I recognized that after a while, and you know, I bailed and I started a new career path, which is working out much better. Oh, averagely sized as a SQL Oracle man. You love it. Yeah, yeah. I use yeah, right now I'm using PL SQL at work. I've used SQL Server in the past, but right now my work uses PL SQL. So, which is the Oracle version of SQL. Dyslexic Drake. So yeah, if you want information about, so my Twitter, you can do exclamation point Twitter. I'll just do it for you. Twitter. I have a new clicky keyboard too. Hopefully it's not too loud. So that's my Twitter if you want to follow me. And I've got my YouTube as well. That's where I post. So before my VODs get deleted off Twitch, my VODs are up on Twitch for 60 days. So feel free to follow me on Twitch. You can see all my VODs. But then before they get deleted, I moved into YouTube, which is here. So that's my YouTube channel. So you can catch all my older stuff there. Oh, blind. I'm glad that helped. Awesome. Thanks for posting my Twitter, Jenks. Linda, you got a degree in computer science, but you didn't learn how to program there. Is that because it was mostly theory? That was my experience. I took one computer science class in college, and we did not. I did not get along with that computer science class, and that basically what that did is it ruined me for several years, thinking that I was not smart enough to learn how to code. I took one Java class in college, and it was the worst. So I feel like, just in my experience, college computer science classes are not necessarily preparing you for the way coding is done in the real world. Unfortunately, I feel like Leon's method of teaching does it much better, and it's free. Like Leon says, education should be free, right? Yeah. Explanation, use, example. That's it. Thanks, Nick. I couldn't remember the acronym for the life of me. I know what it is. I just, something about it just doesn't stick for me. I like to think of DUE, so definition, use, example. For me, that's easier to remember. The programming classes assumed you already knew how to program. Oh, that's bogus. Because yeah, what if you want to learn? That's too bad. Yeah. Um, you took a C++ class and the teacher did not teach. It was complete these projects by such and such date, and it scared me out of it for years. Yeah, me too, man. Um, it messed me up. I thought, I didn't understand a single thing that was happening. I didn't really like it wasn't engaging me at all. And I was that person in the group projects that was like the loafer, not the loafer, but like the one that really didn't contribute much, and the rest of the group was just kind of dragging me along, which didn't feel good either. And so, yeah, I didn't really try to actually code again until I suddenly made it to the senior developer level and was like, hey, maybe I'm kind of good at this. Maybe this is something I'm actually able to do. And then I saw Leon's thing pop up on Reddit and I was like, well, maybe I should actually try to learn how to really code rather than learning, just on the job stuff. So, yeah, totally agree. Um, when I was in those college computer science classes, there were too many code weenies showing off, and it just felt bad. Yeah, yeah, you kind of, that's kind of college for you, right? There's in college you get a lot of folks flexing on various things, and um, yeah, learning to be humble and learning to think about what you don't know, and realize and learning how to fill those gaps is a really valuable skill, and not everybody picks it up. So yeah. Yep, do the project and for the work you pass. Yeah. What am I using for streaming? You mean what client am I using? I'm using Twitch Studio. It's free. It's easy to set up, and if I think for small time streamers such as myself, it's a great option. I've only been streaming for a couple months, and I'm no expert, and so I like that it just does things for me. And you can tweak things, like I can add scenes and I can tweak settings and stuff like that, but I don't got to worry about stuff breaking for the most part. It just works. And for my camera, I've got a Logitech Stream Cam. I don't know. But yeah, feel free. And also too, we need more people in the stream team. So if you have questions about, how do I stream, or what do I use, or how did I get started, or anything like that, feel free to ask. Like again, we're winging it tonight. We're doing an AMA. We're doing, ask me anything about anything as long as it's appropriate. I will answer your questions. So yeah, I appreciate the great questions so far. Um, now I'm help carrying others. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it. Like I said, I'm in the cohort with you guys. I'm learning alongside you, and so for me, I learn better when I teach. And so, really, y'all are just helping me absorb the material. Every time I teach, y'all are just helping me absorb the material better. What languages do I know? Well, prior to 100 devs, I only knew SQL. That was it, literally it. And that was another reason I started doing 100 devs as well. Was just because. Oh, thanks for the hydrate. Was just because I felt kind of bad that like I made it to the senior developer level and I know one language, and that just didn't seem right. It felt like I was missing out. It felt like that wasn't appropriate. And so I was like, I made it this far. I got to stretch myself and I got to learn more. And so far, it's been great. I love it. Your first real language that you learned outside of college was C sharp. You love it now. That's awesome. C sharp is used in a lot of game dev, isn't it? You'd love to try streaming. Should I know what I'm doing before I try out for the team? Yeah, I think Leon recommends that several streams under your belt first before you even apply, because he's going to go look at your VODs. Um, and and evaluate whether or not you should belong to the stream team. For me, I had streamt. Is that the past tense of stream? Is streamt? No, it's not. I had been streaming. I'm gonna drink here. Yeah. I had been streaming for a while on Discord, on the Discord channels, prior to moving to Twitch. I didn't know anything about Twitch. Was kind of afraid of it, um, just because I don't know. I just think about Twitch for gaming, right? And Leon. Um, but yeah, no, I'd been streaming on Discord for a while, at least a month or so, prior to moving to Twitch, and so that was kind of my entry. Like Leon already knew about me, so but yeah, so get a few streams under your belt, then apply, and hopefully you get in. I hope more folks can join the stream team. Right now, it is, in case you didn't know, right now it is currently me, Hello, it's Rufio, and Varola Fox, both of which are awesome, and you should check them out. And I love that we all kind of do different things. I tend to focus more on technical streams, so I do like, if if you've never seen me before, I tend to do a fair amount of I tend to do a fair amount of like homework. I cover the homework. We walk through it together. I do in-depth coding projects. We build cool apps. Like we build Jeopardy and Wordle and screensavers, and all using JavaScript and using the concepts that we talked about in class. So yeah, check out my VODs if you want to know more about the type of stuff that I stream. But Rufio is great because she's working on a cool talking dictionary. And she's looking for a job, so she's doing like the job hunt live, which is really rad. She did a 12-hour stream last Saturday, which is freaking amazing. um, Varola also does great streams, like sort of chill variety streams. Like if you just want to hang out and do homework, like, man, they're like super chill. And they did a awesome they answered some of the questions on the bank on their last stream, so check them out as well. um, do I have hydration? I do. Yeah. Um, this is my giant mug. I'm keeping it turned around because it has a bad word on it. Want to keep things wholesome. Twitch is not for gaming anymore. Yeah, I love it. There's so many different people talking about different stuff on Twitch. It's great. You're having a lot of I have no idea what I'm doing days in the second half of the cohort. To me anyway, that's part of the fun, is like, so a lot of folks have asked me, so when I do these big projects on stream, how do I think up my project ideas? um how do I do what do I do, where do I get my ideas? And part of it is just thinking of something cool that I want to do, just like in general. Like a couple weeks ago I was like, I could probably build Jeopardy. There's a Jeopardy API. I could probably build that. But having zero idea how to do it, and then literally just sitting down and putting something on paper. That's the most important part. People ask, how do I get started? How do I do projects? Just sit down and try something. Even if you're just writing out, like, in general, what you want to do, try to put something down on paper. Start with your basic HTML, and then think, okay, I want to hit an API. How do I hit an API? We know how to do that. Okay, I'm gonna hit this API. How do I hit the API multiple times? Just, and then anything you don't know, Google it. Just Google it. It's okay if you don't know stuff. It's okay if you don't know exactly how to do a whole project before you get started. I never know what I'm doing. That's how I mean, and that's kind of how I usually end up a little bit ahead of class on my streams. We talk about concepts on my streams that we haven't learned yet in class, and then, the next week we actually cover it. Just because I Googled it for the stream, learned just enough about it to use it and make it work and not give me errors, and then we learn more in depth in class. So don't be afraid to Google, and don't be afraid if you don't understand. Just throw it in there. Just do it. Put it in there. So I mean, that's kind of how I do my projects. Is I just YOLO it. Every single. I don't know what I'm doing when I talk through these projects on stream. I just did it like 2 hours ago. I haven't been, it's not that I'm coming in with like from as the source of all knowledge. I'm just YOLOing. Rufio's energy for job hunting is something else. Absolutely. They are in it to win it, and I hope they do. They're going to get that job. Dog of year. Yeah, my dog is actually on the couch. There's a couch over here. You can't see it, but he's on the couch. So, well, I'll probably point the camera at him someday. Not right now. There's a bunch of boxes back here from my computer setup, so I don't want y'all seeing those. Missed my live notification. That's all right. Yeah, no, this is, like I said, this was totally impromptu. We're winging it tonight. We're having fun. It's all good. You started reading me on GitHub. That's awesome. Yeah, do that. Now the compare monster is real, man. Yeah, so they say, I'm a little relieved you're already in tech. It's a double-edged sword when people seem to understand things so clearly. It's inspirational, but then I feel bad about myself, so it's hard to shush the compare monster. Yeah. And that's real. And even for people in tech already, like Leon said, he still gets that. He still gets that feeling of, oh, I don't know as much as everybody else. And I certainly do. My day job, on my team at my day job, I am younger in age than everybody else on my team by at least a decade. And I'm also younger in experience by a lot. I'm by far the most inexperienced person on my team at work. And sometimes I feel like a dingus, just because, I won't understand something I've never encountered before. But that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity for you to ask questions, and for you have these sources of knowledge of people who do know all this stuff, and they are ripe for the asking. You can just ask the question, be like, "Hey, I don't understand. Can you explain like what you use this for?" Or "Hey, I've never seen that before. What did you just do there? Can you show me that command again?" Or how would I access this data? You did it so much more quickly than I could. How can you just show me how you did that? And so it's such a great way to learn things quickly when you're surrounded by people who maybe have more experience than you. But it's hard to get past that feeling of inadequacy, and so eventually you just got to embrace it. Everything on social media is basically a highlight reel. The cool stunts and trick shot videos took 1,400 tries. Olympic athletes train 5,000 hours. Art masters spend a lifetime perfecting their craft. The best time to start is 10 years ago. The second best time is now. Yeah, that's right. Everything on social media is curated. Even everything on my streams is curated. I only show you the projects that work, right? You never saw the stuff that I abandoned, or the stuff that I couldn't figure out, or the features that I wanted to add at first and then I had to not add because I couldn't figure out how to do it. So, or the workaround, the janky, hacky stuff that I did. Um, so, I mean, that's, you only see my finished products. Everything that I show on stream, other than this stream, has been pre-coded. I have a script. Everything's already written out. The stuff when I'm coding live with you, I'm rewriting stuff I already did. I'm not coming up with this on the fly, except for tonight, which I totally am. Tonight is on the fly, but every other day is pre-scripted. So think about it in that way too. I'm showing you my finished work. Learning code while in a current job and now picking up dev tasks in your role, but not really getting paid a dev wage. Oh boy, I have been there, friend. Yes. And that's partially why I just finally took the leap and transferred to being a developer, because I was doing things, I was building things in my role as a data analyst at the university where I still work. At the I had a role as a data analyst, but that was really a misnomer. It did not describe the type of things I was doing. I was doing automation. I was learning, how to parse JSON, just a little bit. And I was supporting multiple software tools. I was administering multiple software tools, not coding, but still deep into tech, right? And I felt like I was not valued, and I felt like I was not being paid for the type of expert work that I was doing. And so finally, I was just like, screw it, I'm going to be a developer. And I found a role that fit on a great team, and that's where I am now. So I hope you're able to make that leap. But you are cultivating the skills now that will be real, that look super great on a resume. Yeah. You should just stay away from Twitter just to check in. Yeah, yeah. Um, I mean, I do tweet there about my streams, so follow me on Twitter. But I don't spend a lot of time there. I should just check for breaking news or things like that, and then I'm off. I don't hang out. How do promotions work in tech? Do you have to apply for senior positions, or do they promote you when they feel you've earned it? Good question. That can really depend. So much of this stuff depends on culture, depends on the culture of your workplace. Some places, will promote you after a certain amount of time. Um, some places you have to apply. Some places will proactively promote you based on performance. In my experience, any promotion that I've gotten, I've had to apply for. But again, that's just types of places that I've worked. It wasn't an automatic thing. They want to. So being a bit cynical here, but in general, your employer is going to want to keep you in the role that you're at the pay band that you're at, because and slowly squeeze more work out of you over time, give you more and more responsibilities. Because once you show that you're capable, they're going to give you more stuff to do. And so, like Leon says, you know, it's if you can bounce, if you can jump ship to a new position or a new company every couple of years, that's going to keep that work to pay ratio more manageable. And like I say, a little bit cynical that I'm sure that's not true for everyone. And like I say, I love my employer. I just moved to a new role at my employer that I felt better reflected the type of work I was capable of, the type of work I was doing, the type of pay that I felt I was worthy of, and the title that I wanted as well. So personal experience is that, yeah, if you don't ask for it, if you don't fight for it, your employer, because of the cost benefit, is going to want to keep you where you are and give you more work. So you got to be proactive, and that's something I've learned um, the hard way. um, Depends on the company. Yeah, absolutely. Some companies are better than others. Absolutely. Employers want to pay you as little as possible and tell you that you still don't do enough for them, but you are still family and they love you so much. Ooh, I have experienced the family before, not at my current employer, at a previous employer. Not going to say which one. I've experienced the family, and yeah, that's it's usually not family. At the same time, they pay family 3 times what you got paid. Yeah. If the company's business first and tech second, this will usually be true. Yeah. Like I say, again, massive asterisks here. Every company is different. Know the cult. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but my recommendation is make sure that when you're interviewing, make sure that you're also interviewing the interviewer. So they're going to want to know that you're interested in the company, and um, you're going to get more insight about the culture if you're asking those cultural questions in the interview. I think Leon says to wait until after the interview, until you get an offer, and judgment call. It depends, on how comfortable you're feeling. But personally, for me, I always ask the culture question in the interview. I want to know what I'm getting into before I put in all the effort to try to be a part of the company. If they're not going to treat me well, I'm not going to bother. I don't want to be involved. So I start asking those culture questions in the interview. As soon as the interviewer opens it up for questions, I'm asking about culture, how promotions, culture, um, you know, how do they support their employees in various ways. Is it normal to move around a lot in the tech industry? Do employers expect it? Yeah, nowadays, yeah, I would say so. Uh, the amount of time that people stay in a job can vary, and it depends on a lot of things. But don't be afraid to look for greener pastures, especially now. Obviously, try when you get your first tech job. Try to learn as much as you can as quickly as you can, and try to contribute in notable ways that you're going to be able to leverage later when you apply for your next job. It's going to get you more money. Try to make an impact, make a valuable impact, and you know for your own benefit as well as your employers. Sounds like your current experience in retail. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's so common for employers to undervalue their employees to the point where they have a lot of turnover and then they don't understand why. Small employers use that family thing to get you to work all waking hours. Been there. Working, yeah, working 12-hour shifts at Christmas. Yeah, I've been there. Gonna hydrate again here. Okay, got lovely, great questions so far. I'm loving this. This is fun. Um, let's see. Got any simple project ideas using OOP just to help get the concepts down better? Um, yeah, I mean, see if you can use OOP like with an API. Like check out my if check out my Pokemon checker stream. And we did some fun stuff with OOP there. Do the calculator. Leon assigned a little bit ago, like it was a long time ago actually when we first introduced OOP. I think it was a long time ago. He said build a calculator. So see if you can build a calculator using object oriented principles. It's okay if it's it's a boot campy project, right? But you're still going to learn from it, and you don't necessarily have to put it on your portfolio. Um, so yeah, just pick something simple. Pick a calculator or try to interface with an API, and find it. And what I really like to do is I like to just look at that big GitHub list of APIs that Leon shared a few classes back. Just big, just massive list of APIs. Find one that looks interesting and see what you can do with it. Bend it and break it, and then try to make it object oriented. Whatever you build, try to make it object oriented, and tag me on Twitter so that I can see it. I love seeing what people build. Uh, Build something that requires multiple user inputs of the same type, like a bug tracker or to-do list. Yeah, you could do that as well. Absolutely. Those are great ideas. Do companies in the United States accept a number of remote applications outside of the US or only prefer local? It, like I say, it really depends. I know with applications outside of the US, sometimes there's like documentation concerns, by that I mean like visa or whatever. But if you're working remotely, that's probably not a big deal. So yeah, in this newer culture, in this newer work culture, I think sometimes bets are off, because you could be working from a completely, from Canada, and work for a company in the US, or from the Netherlands and work for a company in the US. So it may be a different world now. It sounded correct when culture was cut off to know the cult. Yeah, there is a little bit of that. So depending on the company, it can be more culty than others. Absolutely. I love that you're saying when it's going to happen. Absolutely, and it can, and it will. I see. Um, just kind of hanging around the Discord, I see a lot of self doubt, and which is fine. It's okay to have self doubt because that's what helps you improve. But don't let your self doubt stop you from trying. Really, for real, like follow the steps that Leon is advising, because they work. I'm telling you, even if you're not a super strong coder, even if you feel like, oh, I don't know every single thing about object oriented programming, or oh, I don't understand how to use promises, I'm not going to be able to get a job. Nope, not true. Think about me. I got a job with, no CS degree, knowing like very little about the theory behind the kind of code that I was doing, and really knowing just enough SQL to be dangerous. On the job learning is so powerful. So if you can get your foot in that door, get your first tech job, and then you will learn so much so quickly, you will not believe it, because you'll be swimming in it like every day. You'll be introduced to new tools. You'll be introduced to new paradigms. You'll be introduced to new ways of working, like agile and sprints, and you're going to learn so much from your coworkers. So just just try. You don't have to be a hacker to get a tech job, especially not now. And like I say, I'm going to keep saying it. You're going to get tired of me saying it, but soft skills, soft skills. Don't even really like that name, because they're not soft. They're interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are so important. And like for me, I'm an introvert. I don't like talking to people, but I practiced, and I'm practicing with you right now. Um, and I practice, I rehearse, I think about how to respond to things in the best way, and that will help you so much, to survive your interviews, and to excel in your interviews. That's how I do it. And I'm happy to also talk about my interview strategy as well. I don't know if you guys want to hear about that, or if you just want to get to the bank. Like I say, I'm winging it tonight. I'm happy to talk about whatever you all want to talk about. So you guide the conversation. You left your job of 4 years for that reason. I'm assuming about like the mistreatment of, um, yeah, of employees, which is surprisingly common. My current employer is not that way, and my manager is great, my team is great, and that's why, even though I work for a university, so I'm not making as much as I would in the private sector. If I was working for a corporate job, I'd be making much more, but my mental health is so much better. Um, I enjoy coming to work, which is I work remotely, so I just work in another room, which this is not the room where I do work. I want to keep things separate. Um, but yeah, I feel happy, which is an amazing thing sometimes. Yeah. Uh, To-do lists are great examples of something called CRUD. There are 3,000 tutorials on this, and CRUD is like 85% of what coding boils down to. Okay, cool. I don't know what CRUD is, but I'm going to trust you on that. Like I say, I don't know a lot of theory. I don't know a lot of concepts like the why things work. I couldn't tell you, how memory is allocated or anything like that. I just do this stuff. But that doesn't mean I don't want to learn. I am learning, but I'm saying that you don't need to know all the theory, all the why, all the background. Like I said, you just got to know enough to get your foot in the door. Do you feel like no college experience makes you look bad or less likely of a candidate? So again, I have a college degree. Um, I have a degree in statistics, but with no computer science in that mix at all. Um, I I mean, so my experience is not the experience of someone who does not have a college degree. I will say that outright. However, I do know of someone who's extremely intelligent. They work at my university. They're an extremely senior position. They are one of the experts. So we use a reporting software that's doesn't require any code. It allows users to to use a GUI to get the data that they want and drag and drop. Um, and it's very complex. Writing reports for it is wild. It's a wild scene. But this person who is like a major expert on this reporting tool, they do not have a college degree, and they work their way up. They learned everything on the job. Um, they don't have a college degree, and they're way more senior than I am. So tech is the wild west, man. As far as job goes, if you can demonstrate that you got the skills and that you got the coding skills and the interpersonal skills, you're made in the shade, my friend. I will say I'm not going to say that's not going to be harder. That you're not going to get some some recruiters or some software that's going to eliminate you just because you don't have a degree. But if a posting says if a job posting says that it requires X, Y, and Z, just and you shouldn't be applying for job postings anyway, according to Leon. Network your way in, very valuable. If you are networking and then you end up looking at a role that might talking to your network contact about a role that might require certain skills that you don't have, don't let that be a barrier to you. Um, don't snitch on yourself. Don't sell yourself short. Get in there and at least try to show that you have the ability to learn. If say like, yeah, I don't know that one particular thing. I don't know that, but I have demonstrated through my resume, through my portfolio, through projects X, Y, and Z that I have done that I am eager to learn, eager to collaborate, and willing to take on these responsibilities with the goal of learning and improving myself. And so that's a big thing too. um let's see. JM says, thinking of trying for Stream Team. I typically stream live Pomodoros and setting up my Twitch setup. Yeah, so again, I'm using Twitch Studio, which is much more bare bones than OBS or Streamlabs. For me, it works because my streams are pretty bare bones, right? I don't have fancy animations or like crazy, crazy games or anything like that because that's not really the point of my streams, right? My streams are pretty like educational, pretty dry. I'm going to admit it. Pretty dry, pretty technical, and so I don't like a lot of clutter that's going to detract from the things that I'm trying to teach. So personal preference. Feel free to ask Rufio or Verola. They've been streaming a lot longer than I have. They are they're experts compared to me in the stream game, and I'm sure they have some insights about what they do and how they do it. I think they both use Streamlabs, maybe. Um, my degree hasn't helped me. Yeah, I will say that my that stats degree hasn't really done much for me so far. Um, how long have I been coding? Yeah, so I talked a little bit about this at the start. I haven't been so I didn't start coding until I left college. So when the flip was that? So I mean, I kind of came into tech sideways, like a lot of people do. I started out as an analyst, um, just doing a tiny little bit of coding just to connect to a database, and the rest of it was just your standard like Excel, Office products, that kind of thing. Um, and I slowly have picked up steam in the coding side of things for the past 7 or 8 years. But it's been a slow progression. This is my first dev job. I've had my first dev job, like real, where my title is developer. Had that job for less than a year. Every other title that I've had before that has been something like operations or analyst, where coding is there, but it's not the main focus. So, and I never before Leon's thing, I never did any coding outside of like I never did any coding outside of work because SQL is not a language that you have fun with. It's very utilitarian. It does one thing and it does it well. It talks to databases, and talking to databases isn't necessarily something that you do for recreation, like for fun. It's not a project. It's not a project language like JavaScript is. Yeah, don't let your dreams be dreams. Absolutely, just do it. Um, Oh, good. I'm glad I'm trying to give you all some hope here, just because that's my experience is that it's not as hard as as you might think. I'm not discounting that people to have genuine struggles that make it hard for them to be able to interview, to be able to network, and that kind of thing. I'm just saying it's not an insurmountable task. It can be done. Um, Uh, Interview strategy. Okay, people are asking about interview strategies. Yes, I will get to that in just a second. Let me catch up with the chat here. If you forget stuff, so what to do if you having trouble concentrating or forgetting things? Yeah. um Again, I would suggest building projects rather than, because when you're trying to take in all these separate concepts like promises and objects, and they're just like the Lego pieces are all scattered all over the floor, and if you want to find a specific Lego piece, you don't know where to find it, right? It could be anywhere on the floor inside your brain. Those concepts are just everywhere. So I find that when I build projects and I start applying the concepts and stringing them together, putting those Lego pieces together, that makes them easier to find, because you think, yeah, promises. I used that when I built Jeopardy. I used promises when I built Jeopardy. Now, how did I do that? And then I can just go back to what I previously did, and look and see how that ties into the larger picture. For me, anyway, I learn best when I apply things. And that's why I love Leon's course, because I'm not just, we're not just learning these abstract theories and things. That doesn't work for me. I got to apply it. And so try building something with the concepts that you're struggling with. Sit down with it, spend a few hours with it, build something with it, and that hopefully that'll help you, get it retained in your working memory. I'm way behind on the chat. I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot. Yeah, we'll get to interview tips. I love that you guys want to hear about that. So yeah, we'll definitely talk about that in a bit. I'm going to try to catch up here. Yeah, and again, so talking about forgetting things again, talk about forgetting CSS. Build a project that's going to require you to use CSS to make it look nice. Build it in JavaScript, get it working, and then format the crap out of it in CSS, and then put it on your portfolio. So you're accomplishing several things there. You're doing your spaced repetition. You're doing you're practicing JavaScript. You're doing spaced repetition on CSS, and you're building something that you can put on your portfolio. And I saw there was a stretch that was put in a while back, so there we go. Stretchy stretch. Okay. Um, CSS is hard. Yeah, like Leon says, you're never going to be good at CSS. Nobody is. You got into coding through bat files and PowerShell? That's rad. I feel like a lot of people did because it's so accessible, right? It's right there. It's on your desktop. SQL is powerful. Yeah, SQL is powerful. I'm not saying it's not powerful. I'm saying that it's not very flexible. Yeah. SQL is your gateway drug into programming. It was for me. Yep. Yeah, start streaming on Twitch. See how it works for you. Um, all right, Uzi, thanks for stopping in. Hey, Rascal, welcome. We're winging it tonight, my friends. Um, I saw you went live earlier, Rascal. I couldn't hit up your stream, but definitely hit up Rascal. And I'm gonna do some shout outs here too, real quick. Let's see if my shout out command works. Shout out Rascal 2. Let's see. Is it gonna work? Yay! There we go. So that's Rascal's channel. Um, Shout out Verola Fox. Hopefully I spelled that right. There's Verola Fox, my fellow stream team member, and do shout out. Oops. Shout out. Hello. Hello, it's Rufio. Hey, there we go. All right. Check all those folks out. They're amazing. If you want more folks to follow, hit them up. So I'm a front end or back end engineer, solely back end. My job is 100% back end, and I love it. I know we haven't talked about the back end yet, but the back end is great. If you're an introvert like me, you get cool projects to work on that are involve some pretty complex data. But then you also don't have to talk to anyone. Well, I'm not going to say that. You have to talk to your team. You talk to the people requesting things from you, the project submitters. But generally, they're folks that are pretty knowledgeable about tech. So, or at least knowledgeable about the data that they're working with. So you don't get you don't have to deal with the public. You don't have to deal with the public, and it tends to be pretty chill. You're not going to have a lot of emergencies in the back end, and unless a database goes down, and then that's generally the system administrator. They handle that. They get to panic. As a back end developer, I'm just using the database, to leveraging the database to get the data that I need to do my development work. So it's a wonderful place to be, at least in my case, and I get to work from home 100% of the time. I never have to go in the office to meet with clients. I never have to, I don't know, uh, go to a store to talk to the public or anything like that. I'm home. Would it be worth hitting or 100 projects right now? Would it be better to wait until we learn a bit more about libraries and Node? Well, I think your wireframe for the $100 project is due on Thursday, so I think you better be thinking about it. uh, I forgot the comments again. That's a specific redemption for when we do homework, and I forget to comment something out, and it accidentally executes, and then I get an error. That happens a lot. Um, You have on call though. Yeah, that's true. We have on call. I'm actually on call for my work this week, and tomorrow I am going to have to get up a little bit early to release a scheduled job that needs to run tomorrow. Um, Otherwise bad things will happen. But no, it's a job that captures data, and it captures data at set times of the year, and I just happen to be on call this week. So I'm going to get up a little bit early, make a call to the data center, and or to the PCAs, and have them release that job for me. But it's not a big deal. So it just it happens. Hey, I am doing well. Thank you so much. We haven't started banking. We're just talking. We're having a good time. We're talking about what it's like to work in tech. We're talking about interview. I'm gonna head into interview, sort of how to do an in-person interview, how to do well in an in-person interview. We're gonna talk about that in just a little bit. And maybe we'll get to banking eventually. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We're having a good time. I'm winging it tonight. I don't normally do that, so I'm just talking about anything that you all want to talk about. Like I say, I normally plan things out, but we're chilling. We're having a good time tonight, and I'm answering questions, and we're gonna hopefully get you all jobs because I want you all to be here in tech with me. Am I looking to move from DB to full stack dev? No, nope. I like my job, at least not right now. Um, I really like my job. I'm fairly new to my current role, so I don't want to. I want to get more under my belt. I'm a senior developer now, and I feel like I need to earn that title a little bit more. And I really genuinely like my job. Good culture, good people, good environment, fun stuff to do. So I'm happy. But I still, that doesn't mean I don't want to learn. You should, when you, once you get your job, you should always be learning. Always, never stop. Don't think just because I have a job now I'm set. No, not true. Especially not in tech. Um, Tech is always changing, right? And new things are coming out, new products, new paradigms, new ways of doing things. So you should always be learning, and that's what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm not looking for a job, but I'm still in Leon's cohort. I'm still in this cohort with you, just because I want to learn. I want to be able to leverage some of the skills that I'm learning here to be better at my day job. Do I collaborate with? How do I collaborate with my team? I collaborate with my team using Teams, Microsoft Teams. Yep, we just have a big old Teams thread, and we all post memes in it all day long, and occasionally do some real work. Would you recommend marketing yourself as full stack, even if you're primarily interested in the back end? That's probably like, I don't know if I imagine, I assume you're talking about yourself. Don't limit yourself is what I would say. Don't pigeonhole yourself when you haven't even, when this is your first tech job. Don't try to get too specific too soon, I guess is what I would. Keep yourself open to opportunities. Is this being recorded? Yeah. Yep, there'll be a VOD of this that should hit my Twitch channel right after we're done. Hey, Antosha, welcome. How big is my team? We're very small. We only have 6 people, which is nice. We can collaborate really easily. Okay, let's talk about interviews a little bit. If you all want to, we can kind of segue into that. I'm going to keep answering questions. Don't worry. I just want to, folks requested that we talk about how to do well in an in-person interview, or even, like, when I say in person, I mean talking to a human, right? Talking to a human or humans that at least know maybe a little bit more about the job than the recruiter that's just fishing for candidates, right? Once you start getting to those interviews with people in your future department or on your future team, um, you want to be able to talk to them effectively and answer those questions in a way that makes you sound confident and capable and ready to be a part of their team. um, so here's my recommendations. My first recommendation, and probably the easiest one, is to just know the role that you're going in for. Know that the role that you're being interviewed for, and and by that I mean, read the job description and think about any questions that you have, anything you don't understand about that job description, um, anything you want to know more about. Maybe it references, a concept that you read about on a tech blog recently, and you want to see, does this concept tie to this thing that I read about? Um, and so know, like, print off the job description and read it, and maybe, like, even like circle things that you might want to ask about, because the interviewer is going to want to know that you're actually interested in the role, and that you're not just, like, you know rapid fire, going to 20 interviews and just trying to score a position, right? They want to at least think that you have passion for the thing that you're interviewing for, and that you have some foreknowledge about, that you chose this job, this role, for a reason, and that it means something to you. Also, research the company that you're applying for, um, and research the people. If you know who you're going to be talking to, and you should, I mean, if they're setting up a Zoom meeting or something, they're going to have the names on there. Um, Stalk them on LinkedIn. Research the company, research what might be happening in the news related to that company. Have they undergone any mergers lately? Did they start a new division? Have they announced any big corporate initiative, any big splashy initiative? They love it when companies love it when you ask them about their big splashy initiative. Oh, I heard about the Gold Star Tiger initiative. It sounds so interesting what you're doing by leveraging those synergies and expanding into new markets. So this particular role, I would love to be to bring some value to that initiative and to help that initiative succeed. What is this team doing to help that wider company initiative succeed? And how do you feel this role fits into that initiative? Can you talk a little bit about that? That's the kind of thing that I would ask the interviewer. Um, because that shows that I know about the company. I'm interested in the types of things they're trying to do, and I want to know how I could potentially benefit that initiative personally. Um, it just shows a personal commitment. So yeah, so researching, also researching the people, like I say, know what kind of things to maybe to talk about, and maybe what kind of things to not talk about. That there's two sides of that, right? So if you know, if one of the interviewers has on their LinkedIn that they have a passion for a certain kind of niche, niche product, or if they have something they're clearly proud of on their LinkedIn, you don't have to be like, so I saw on your LinkedIn that you like this. No, you don't have to be that direct, but you can kind of steer the conversation to something near that, and maybe see if they can get them to talk about it a little bit. People love to talk about themselves and love to talk about things that they're passionate about. So those are some basic tips. And also, like Leon is saying, do your prep, know what kind of questions are going to be asked for you. And that's what the bank is so good for, is it, there's all these common questions, and you gotta know the answer, not only knowing the answer, but not sounding like it's just something that you've memorized and you're just reading off a script. um, and that's another thing too, is that it can be easy to think that you're really prepared, but what it ends up sounding like is you have a bunch of things written down and you're just reading off your piece of paper. Like, yes, I am passionate about being a developer and am really interested in this type of initiative that you guys are doing. And what do you think about that? No. And when you write everything out, write everything down on like a piece of paper. Like if you decide, oh yeah, I'm just going to write all the answers to to all these bank questions down on a piece of paper, and then I'll know how to answer them, right? Now, you gotta have it flow. You gotta have it be fluid and sound natural, even if it isn't. Even if you worked your ass off, which you're probably gonna. Um, I think that's also why Leon really stresses the hit list. So like, having, just narrow it down. Have your hit list of specific companies that you are prepared for, that you've researched, and that you have, that you've been, that gives you more time to work on your banky questions and get those things in your brain, so you can just spit them out and sound like you knew it all along, even if you didn't. Um, I just talked a lot and I missed a whole bunch of the chat. Okay, I'm gonna get caught up with the chat, and then I'm happy to talk more about interviewing. Um, and Yeah, I do have more to say about interviewing, but I'll get back to that in just a second. Um, is the $100 project? $100 is a self project. So yeah, that's your personal passion. Um, in applying or interviewing for jobs, what percentage of qualification of the job listings do you think people should meet before applying? People said to apply even if you don't meet all qualifications. Absolutely. Because a lot of times the people that wrote the job description don't know crap about the actual job. Like, in my experience, the team that does the actual work says, "Hey, I want to open up another position for another developer or whatever." HR, so then they say, "All right, this person should probably know this and this and this." They send that off to HR, and HR is the one that writes the actual listing. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just putting down the qualifications. They might even be going out and like saying like generic developer application go, and they just put it out there. So they don't know. They don't know you don't know what you're even applying for until you get into the interview and you're able to start asking some knowledge based questions, and you hear the sorts of questions that are being asked back to you. So you don't know what you're applying for until you get an actual interview. Hey Florence, welcome. We're doing a chill stream today. It's all good. Um, you wanted to ask how to reach out to recruiters. Um, I would Google it, honestly. I would just say, like, just Google for best ways to contact recruiters on LinkedIn. I'm sure folks are going to have a lot of ideas, and I think Leon is going to even be giving us scripts at some point, like types of things to say. Although if you want to start now, I would just Google it, man. That's a joke from Rufio's stream last night. Yeah, Rufio has done like marathon streams on job hunting. So if you're deep in the hunt right now, check out Rufio, man. They're going for it. they're going for it live, which is commendable. Yeah, Rufio's stream yesterday went over how to cold email people from companies that you're interested in working for. Absolutely, check out Rufio. They're awesome, and they're a funny, cool person as well. Do we Anki or Banky? Yeah, practice. We're gonna have to. We're gonna be practicing these questions until we're sick of them. But that means you're gonna be able to answer them in a natural way that sounds like you know exactly what you're talking about. It's gonna make you more confident too. Um, and so with that, that's a nice segue. I'm gonna get back to kind of being in an interview here. Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to take a break soon. My old dog is ready for dinner. So I'm gonna say one more thing, and then we'll take a break. We'll take 5 minutes, and then we'll come on back, and we'll keep talking, and we'll eventually probably get to the bank. Um, my dog is so loud. Sorry. The last thing I wanted to say is that when you're thinking about going into an interview and asking and answering questions, like I said, don't you're not going to want to write everything out word for word, but it's okay to take notes. It's okay to take notes into an interview, and I usually do that. I'll usually take a notepad, like handwritten notes, because partially I don't want the interviewer reading what I've written. I want those notes to be for me and for me alone, to remind me of specific things. So I will write them, I will handwrite them in cursive, so that the interviewer is going to be far less likely to be able to read the types of things that I want to tell them before I'm able to tell them, before I'm able to phrase them in the way that I want. But I'll write down keywords, just like a couple words to kind of spark my brain to remind me of the types of things that I want to tell them about, or the types of answers that I want to give them. So I'll write down a couple keywords, per line, just to say like, SharePoint project. Oh yeah, I wanted to talk about that. That's right. Or things I want to ask them about, like, Gold Star Initiative. I just write that down in cursive so they can't read it. And then I want to, and maybe like a statistic about that initiative that I want to ask them about specifically to make it sound like I'm all knowledgeable and stuff. Um, and so, that's the kind of thing that's like, you don't have to go in there completely, hands empty. I always take a notebook, and that allows me to write things down as they're talking. Like as they're giving me the answers to those questions, I'm writing them down to really to say, yes, I care about what you're saying. um, and maybe even to follow up, to be like, hey, I see earlier that you said this about this, but the answer that you just gave me, or or the feedback that you just gave me seems to indicate something different. Can you elaborate a little bit more, about how what you said earlier relates to what you just told me now? That shows that you're paying attention, that you're not just like, you know wide-eyed and not absorbing anything that they're saying. um, don't rote memorize the answer. Absolutely. Yep. Don't memorize the answer to the bank questions. Just run them over and over and over again until they take up real estate in your brain, and you can pull them out on the fly and answer them in an intelligent way that doesn't sound memorized. So like when we start covering the bank questions, I'm going to be, helping you guys find the answers, but I don't want you all to just go and copy my answers and say that's what I'm going to say in an interview, because that's not your answer, that's my answer. So you want to have it sound like something that's reflective of you. What happened to Oh, Mike, yeah, what happened to class tonight? Sorry if I'm late to the convo. Yeah, so unfortunately Leon had a family emergency. And everyone's okay. But he had to, to spend the night with his significant other in the hospital. So he wasn't able to do class tonight. So I was going to stream after class tonight to test my stream setup anyway. So I'm like, all right, I'm jumping on. Let's go. didn't prepare, didn't prepare anything. We're just winging it. We're having fun. But hey, it's been good so far. You all have been asking great questions. I'm having a good time. So let's take a break at 9, which is in about 10 minutes, because I think we're still rolling here. But we'll give it 10 minutes. I'll take a break. I got to feed my dogs because my old dog is gonna have a conniption if I don't. Um, yeah, everybody's okay, at least according to what Leon said. So thankfully, and I hope that everything is back to normal for him in his life, for by Thursday, or even by tomorrow. That would be amazing. But I'm glad he felt like he was able to, take some time off, take the night off, and spend time with the people that he loves, because that's more important than anything, right? HR's turn to Google. You've heard some copy and paste job descriptions. Yeah, absolutely true. That's what I'm saying. Sometimes you'll be looking at job descriptions. I know for a fact that, I mean, my employer does that. They'll they'll have, multiple positions open, and it's clear that those positions are supposed to be for different, slightly different things, but the job description is the same thing, just copied and pasted over and over. Because it's easy, right? HR is just like, all right, I got to get these 16 positions posted before lunch. I'm just gonna, bam, 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 just post them all and hope they get some bites. So that's why, it's important to just try. Don't make the position be your gatekeeper. The job description be your gatekeeper. Yeah. So okay, Nick, something I love this. Nick says, I currently work in HR. My boss told me in our company she hired software engineers for a time and had no idea what anything meant or anything was. Yes, and this is super common. It's just kind of how things work. Because the actual team that's doing the work, they don't got time to vet every single candidate that applies. They just don't have time. They're going to do the final interviews, or the in-person interviews, but that initial, like, that first hurdle is probably going to be some HR person that doesn't know a single thing about what you're actually applying for. They just know the requirements that are written down. um, and so you're probably going to have more luck getting past that person if you have a good portfolio, if you're you know if you pass that basic sniff test, like Lena keeps saying. You just got to get your foot in the door, pass the sniff test, be a personable person, that can interact with other people fairly well. And then you have to then the bank will probably come in later on when you actually start talking to the team you'll potentially be working for. um, Use secretarial shorthand to keep people from reading your notes. Oh, that's rad. I use the ancient secret of bad handwriting. Very it's a very difficult skill. Being having such terrible cursive that nobody can read it. Yes, that is my secret. Hey, Jabalicious, I'm doing great. I hope you're doing good too. We're having a fun time tonight. I'm standing. I got a whole new setup. I got a whole new computer. Got a whole new streaming setup, and I'm standing, not sitting, so I'm able to move around a little bit, and I'm digging it so far. It's working out. Got my got my ring light taped to my webcam, and got my microphone on a Funko Pop, and yeah, it's working. Um, Need to upgrade the storage of your brain. Oh, thanks for the follows, folks. I really appreciate it. Y'all keep me going. Really enjoying the impromptu stream. I'm glad. I'm glad. Because, like I say, normally I spend at least a couple hours prepping for every single stream that I do. And so it's kind of refreshing to just, I don't know, talk to y'all. Um, what do I do for fun? Well, part of my fun is this gaming computer that I just built over the weekend. It's the first gaming computer that I've ever built, like, not bought, right? And so I built it, and what was great is my dad got to help out. He was the one mostly holding the flashlight because he doesn't know anything about computers. But yeah, we had a good time. So yeah, and so I've actually been playing Control, that game Control, which is super fun, and I couldn't play it before on my old laptop because it would explode. So yeah, I'm excited to get into some more, graphically intensive games, and yeah, I like gaming. I like doing stuff with my dog. Yeah, I don't know. I like chilling and working in the yard or playing games, or I do a lot of stuff. I really like it when you really like it when they spell JavaScript as two words on the job description. Yeah, yeah, that's great. And that can give you, when you see a lot of copy paste job descriptions, that can give you some clues about how to approach. like when HR approaches you about how to talk to them as well, because you can tell, like if you're seeing like errors in the types of things they're asking for, or copy paste job descriptions, you can probably tell that the first person you're going to be talking to is going to be someone from HR and not someone who actually knows code. So in the terms of the balance of technical versus interpersonal that you're going to want to like put on display when you talk to this person, you're probably going to want to be more of the interpersonal buddy type person versus trying to say like, and I know, and here's my project, and explaining all the technical stuff about the project, because the HR person is just going to be like, I don't know what you're talking about, and you're scaring me a little bit. So those types of what's in the job description and how it's written can also give you clues about how your interview process might go. I'm not saying that's the way it's going to go, but that can, any clues that you can get, whether you got it, like Leon says, it's a game, right? And the game is rigged. So you got to do whatever you can to try to tip the scales in your favor in this process, versus because they're already way down in the employer's favor. So you got to figure out any way that you can to get your own advantage, whether that's stalking people on LinkedIn, whether that's memorizing all the questions in the Banky so that you can answer them at the drop of a hat. Even if you don't actually, even if you've never used the concepts before, you'll know how to answer the question. Whether that's networking aggressively with people at the company, like Leon recommends. Whether that's researching, pretending to care about things the company is doing, even if you have zero interest in it for reals, thinking of creative questions to ask about what's in the job description if it's descriptive enough, figuring out creative questions to ask about the culture, about the initiatives the company is doing. um, you got to tip the scales. The odds are never going to be like in your favor going in. You gotta do that yourself. And networking is a great way to do that. Like Leon keeps saying, if you got someone who's already on the other side of the scale, who can help put their hand on it and tip it a little bit in your direction, that's super valuable. And also too, another thing to remember, um, so I have anxiety, and diagnosed anxiety, all that good stuff. But learning to manage that anxiety and learning to manage that nervousness when you're going into an interview is another valuable thing, and that's practice can really help you there. For folks that are uncomfortable talking to people, practicing talking to people, and I'm sure we're going to do mock interviews later on. I mean, that can be really useful as well, just because it's never the end of the world. Like Leon says, you're going to have an interview where everything goes wrong and you can't answer the questions and you bomb. um, it's never going to be the end of the world, so just go into it with that, like I did tonight on this stream. I was like, I don't even know if my stream setup's going to work or if anybody's going to show up. I don't know what I'm talking about. I didn't prepare. But I'm just going and I'm going to YOLO it, because what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that could happen is I get 2 viewers and they drop off 10 minutes in. Well, in that case, I end the stream and I go play Control for 2 hours and then go to bed. So, it's not going to be, it's not the end of the world. There's always more companies to apply to, or more networking to do to get referrals to jobs. So it's never the end of the world. And so that having that attitude will help you with your confidence and your feeling natural in an interview. All right, we got 2 minutes, and we're 2 more minutes, and we're gonna take a break. I'm gonna feed my dogs, but I'm gonna scroll down through the chat here and see if I'm missing anything crucial. Wonderful people are offering some wonderful advice on recruiters, and um, the problem with bad handwriting is sometimes you can't even read it. Yeah, absolutely. I've had that problem. Should show you guys my handwriting sometime. It's bad. Doctor handwriting. Yeah, so both my parents are veterinarians, which may have something to do with it. Maybe it's genetic. I don't know. JS is being a little overwhelming, so you haven't been able to practice or try your hand at a project. I would say those two things go hand in hand. Learning JS goes hand in hand with trying projects. Try a tutorial. Try a tutorial that's going to hold your hand through it and show you every single step. There's nothing wrong with that. Check out some of my VODs if you want to do some step-by-step coding where I show you exactly what to do and when to do it. That you're still getting your hands on the keyboard and you're still practicing. Specs on computer. Oh, specs on what did I get? Yeah, it's not the top of the line, but I mean it's a GT sorry, it's an RTX NVIDIA RTX 3070 graphics card, and a Ryzen i5, and uh, I've only got 16 gigs of RAM. I'm probably going to upgrade, but I mean, it's just whatever I could, whatever I could get. Right? It's my first computer. I'm bound to make mistakes, but um, I can upgrade later on if I need to. Control is hard code on the GPU. I've got it all up at maximum settings. I'm so excited. I can see all those beautiful water reflections and shadows, and all the ray tracing. It's rad. Um, the API, you're going to take what Mindwolf did and make it rock paper scissors. That's rad. Yeah. And if you really can't find a project to do, feel free, take one. I've got all my stuff on GitHub. Don't steal mine directly. Please don't steal my stuff. But feel free to use my stuff as inspiration to flex and build your own stuff that's even better. But don't steal my stuff. Like don't copy it and sell it as your own. Make it your own, modify it, add features, add new things, make it better. Because a lot of my stuff is, pretty janky under the hood. So make it better, make it different, make it yours. Control is the best. Yeah, it's so good. I couldn't play it with, like I said, I couldn't play it without my laptop bursting into flames before, but I tried. Lowest graphics settings. um, All right, I'm just gonna, let's see. Okay, it's time to take a break. I'm gonna catch up on the chat when I get back. But we're gonna take 5 minutes. We're gonna, hydrate and hydrate. I'm gonna feed my dogs. Go use the restroom. Do what you got to do. And I'm so excited to keep talking to you guys about working in tech and anything else that you want to talk about. And I will catch up with the chat when I get back and answer any questions. All right, so I'm gonna get a timer going here. Um, but we got to take breaks eventually because I'm the kind of person I would just keep talking like for this entire time, but that's not healthy. We got to take breaks. So, 5 minutes timer, because y'all know me. I can keep talking forever. Me and my 4 hour streams. All right, let me get my screen sorted out here. Got to get to the right screen. Let's see. There we go. All right, so 5 minutes starting now, and I will see you all back here very shortly. All right? All right, sounds good. Talk to you soon. All right, folks, we got about 45 seconds left. So I will see you shortly. I'm going to turn off the beeper just in case I miss it. But yeah, come on back here pretty soon and we're going to talk some more. All right, Aroni, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. Okay, go back to chatting mode here. Webcam on. There we go. Awesome. The lighting in here. I'm gonna turn. Hang on. I'm gonna turn on another light. See if that looks better. Ah, there we go. That looks better. Less dark and foreboding. This room is already pretty bare. I don't want you all to think I'm living in like a, you know, government bunker or something. I'm really not. I'm just bad at decorating. Uh, okay. There was a really great something I saw popped up here from a first time chat from Bose here's Beastgy, and I'm very sorry. I'm sure I got that wrong. But they said, in my experience as an employer, it's best to let people just talk and explain previously done work and ask a few detailed questions, digging really deep into the why and the how. Contractors often give basic main points based on single courses and not actual experience that are just superficial bragging, and it has been a deal breaker often. That's a really good point, and I really like that you brought that up. And that's another reason why I'm so glad that Leon is having us do like more in-depth projects, like especially later on. For the folks that haven't done projects yet, we are gonna, we're gonna get to the point where you gotta have done some projects, and that's why he wants us to get a client, and that's why he wants us to do these applicable things so that you're not just memorizing bullet points, right? You're going to be able to draw from actual experience to talk about the real things that you've done, and to then say like, okay, what mistakes did I make, what did I learn, what things did I put into practice to accomplish this goal. And so yeah, you got to have that, and I'm so glad that you mentioned that. So the bank is one thing, and that's going to get past those like generic interview questions. Another thing is, what have you actually done? Did you do some, so you can say if you volunteered. I volunteered work for XYZ nonprofit, and my main challenge when I built their website was that they needed I don't know, an interactive forum or something like that, and you know it was built using really old code, and they wanted to keep the code, and so I had to figure out how to update it, and so you can those are the types of things that you can do that deep dive in, and feel confident in yourself. Um, when am I planning on playing? Yeah, I've just on my new computer. I've just been playing Control so far, and I played a little Subnautica too because Subnautica is fun. Yeah, Linus Tech Tips is great. Crafting the story and bio blurb. Yeah, so Leon did a good class on that a couple weeks ago where he sort of live crafted people's blurbs. And the one thing that I would say is it can be hard for some folks, not everyone, but some folks, including myself, it can be hard for us to talk about ourselves in a confident light. In order to say, like, the things that I have done are worth noting, are unique, and are valuable. And so, I would suggest looking at examples of blurbs if you can find them, and thinking about, okay, does the things that I have done, how can I make it sort of fit this mold, and to try to think of actionable terms when you're describing yourself. How did I lead? Has there been a time when I've been a leader? Has there been a time when I have contributed in a major way? Has there been times when I've collaborated? What are the types of things that have led to major accomplishments in my life? What skills have helped get me to, lead me to the most success in my life? And those are the types of things you want to highlight in your blurb. um, so you don't want to just like list like, I am a passionate developer that knows SQL, JavaScript, and I like databases. No. Instead, I might say something like, um, you know, you know, I'm an experienced developer that has, contributed to, to multiple major projects and initiatives in a variety of different fields, including health insurance, logistics, higher education. That's showing that I have a little, that's showing that I have a little variety in my past, and I can adapt to a variety of different, working styles and situations. And confident, confident both leading teams and contributing to teams, and interface well with, with a variety, with a wide variety of, both technical and non-technical people. That can be something that you can highlight as well. If you have worked in technical and non-technical teams, just being able to communicate with both sides of the house can be good as well. That's kind of scattered. I'm not as good at it as Leon is. But just thinking about how you can leverage the things, the things that you're genuinely proud of, in your work history, even if it's not tech related. Have you worked in a team before? Okay, then that goes in your blurb. Have you led a team? Like, even if you're maybe in the service industry and you led a team of, wait staff or something like that. I mean, that's huge. That takes a lot of coordination and skill to do. So you don't have to say like, led a team of wait staff. It'd be like led a small high performance team in a, in a highly collaborative environment, right? You're not snitching on yourself, but you're also not selling yourself short. Rascal says, "Oh, you took my snake game and extended it to add multiplayer. Oh, that's rad. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. If you want to do stuff based on my project, if you're having trouble coming up with your own stuff, check out my GitHub. I don't have a command for to pull up my GitHub yet, but just find my name's Mayan Wolf on GitHub too. You can find me, and use some of those as inspiration and make it your own. Yeah, couldn't finish Subnautica, too spooky. Ooh, I haven't got that far yet. Oh, and Rascal, yeah, Rascal posted my GitHub. See, feel to use some of those as inspiration if you want. Just don't steal my stuff. Make it your own, and then tag me on Twitter so I can see what you built. Yeah. You said you attended the Discord stage for the blurb and watched the video he had recorded. Hadn't thought of looking at others for references though. Yeah, absolutely. Look at the stuff. Look at the stuff that works. Look at people's look at so many examples, and eventually you'll get the feel for what's common across all of those examples. The types of things that a lot of folks are doing, and those are the types of things that are going to be successful. So get to the point where you start seeing the common themes and see how you can apply those common themes. So it's almost like a template for you, how you can fit what you know into your template. Hey, Chemo, welcome. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. But yeah, hello. Maybe I'm wrong though. I see so many names. But I do, the folks that are on my stream regularly, I do recognize you, and I'm happy to see you every time. Mm. You and playing catch up. Yeah, that's awesome. Yep, the catch up crew is rad. I love the catch up crew. They're the best. Hey, in the rainbow, hello. Okay, so what other questions do folks have? If we don't have more questions, that's totally fine. We can move on to the next thing, which is probably taking a look at the bank. I'm thinking I'm probably going to go until about 10 o'clock Eastern, which is so we'll probably go for about another 45 minutes. And whether that's me just answering questions for 45 minutes or we go on to the bank, I don't care either way. I still have my regularly scheduled stream tomorrow evening, and I was planning on covering the bank anyway tomorrow. So you're not missing anything. I'm not, if we don't get to the bank tonight, I'm just going to cover it tomorrow anyway. So it's all good. Don't worry. You're not missing anything. I want to talk through, whatever you all want to, whatever's going to help you guys succeed. That's what I want to talk to you guys about. So, any advice for 100 hours projects? Nope. I'm in it with you guys. I'm trying to think about what I want to do too. I'm just going to, so I'll give you a feel for the kind of thought process that I'm going through. So I, I have things that I enjoy, but as far as things that I'm passionate about, Leon said, think about things that you're passionate about, right? The one thing that I'm passionate about is I foster cats and kittens for the animal shelter. Kittens um, and cats have a hard time. There's just so many of them that kittens and cats have a hard time in the animal shelter. They have a hard time getting adopted. They have a hard time making it out, and so they need fosters to pick up that slack and to take care of these kittens that are too small to take care of themselves. And they often don't make it in the shelter just because there's not enough people to care for them. And so they need fosters for that. And so I foster those types of high risk animals. Um, and so I'm thinking for my 100 hours project that I might build an app and both an interface and an app so that the foster coordinator at the shelter can better track the health and status of the all the kittens and I'm going to start with kittens, but all the kittens that they have out at various fosters. So the foster parents can input things in the app to say, like, yes, the weight was this today, or, oh, the kitten is sneezing today. And then the foster coordinator can easily say, oh, Claire has two kittens that seem to be having a respiratory problem. Maybe, I should check with the medical director if there's anything that we need to do about that. Or, oh, those so and so's kittens don't seem to be gaining weight. I should ask and see if they're having trouble eating, or if they need a little bit of help, or if there's some kind of medical issue that they don't know about. So just trying to make it easier for the foster coordinator to interact with the people that are fostering these very vulnerable kittens. Um, and I feel like that, almost every shelter has a foster program, and I feel like this would be really helpful for a lot of shelters. So, I mean, that's just, I took something I'm passionate about. Does fostering kittens immediately bring to mind coding? No, it does not. At first glance, you think, what the flip does that have to do with coding? But then you think, well, how could I make how could I make everyone's lives easier potentially using code without trying to put a round peg in a square hole? Here's a what I feel is a practical application of the skills that I'm learning. I don't know. Will it be? I don't know. I'm going to try it. It's not going to hurt anything to try, right? So there's no bad ideas, right? The worst thing that can happen is you try it. It doesn't work out the way you thought, but you've probably learned stuff along the way, and you can maybe leverage some of that to build your next idea. And Monarchs365, thank you so much for the sub. That's very appreciated. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream well enough to subscribe. Thank you so much. Chemo says, I've been thinking about designing a POS for my 100 hours, or point of sale system for my 100 hours, since my background is mostly in food service. Hey, that's awesome. Yeah. I feel like I feel like those types of like POS systems and stuff like that often aren't designed by the people that are actually using them, right? By the people that use them every day or have to use them every day. And so you designing it from the perspective of someone who, you know, has to use one regularly could lead to a better interface. I've seen those POS interfaces. They're wild sometimes, and I'm sure that with your knowledge, you could probably make a much better one that's easier to learn, easier to train, and easier to use in a high stress situation like a busy night, right? Oh, okay. Lalo asked an interesting question. So, how do we make people want to work with us for 2 years? That's a really interesting and kind of loaded question, right? I think the easiest way is to be an a person who is open to learning. Because if you swagger up into that interview and be like, yeah, I know everything. You ain't going to teach me anything. You're going to be lucky to have me. So confidence is great, but that's a little bit too much confidence. That's showing that you think you know everything already, and you're not going to be willing to adapt yourself to the environment in which you find yourself. You're not be willing to learn the culture. You're not going to be willing to learn the processes. You're not going to be willing to bend your existing ways of thinking to meet your employer's needs. And so in my experience, the easiest way to make people, want to integrate you into their culture, into their workplace, is to say, like, yes, I am happy to learn whatever you want to teach me. Let me read your documentation. I'm going to read your documentation and learn your processes. I'm going to ask questions when I have questions, and I'm probably going to screw up, but if I do screw up, I'm going to learn from it, and I'm never going to do it again. That particular screw up. I might screw up in other ways, but I'm not going to do that specific screw up again. So just show that you can be a learner, and that's going to get you a long way. It's going to help you too. Hey, piece of shoot, welcome. My fear is that my project will be too daunting. Well, like Leon said, just build the minimum viable product. Build the minimum version, like version 1.0, that just does the very basic amount of work to say like this, to say like this is a functioning app. And then see how that feels. See if it's working for you. Then if it is, then continue to expand and add features. But build the minimum viable product first and see if it's something that you want to continue with. Taco says, what kind of environment should I expect in the industry? Is it toxic? It can really vary company to company. I would say that's why you ask cultural questions in an interview. That's why you get a feel for the culture. Some things to think about when you're in an interview and you're thinking you want to know more about the culture. You can ask about, okay, um, how does XYZ company support, what kind of things does XYZ company do to support its developers to have a healthy work life balance? So ask that, and if they say, well, we've got a foosball table in the break room and we have some cots over there, so when you're working all night you can sleep on the cot and not have to sleep under your desk, that's a red flag, right? Or be like, well, we work hard but we play hard. Again, red flag. That shows that they're going to work the crap out of you and then give you a pizza party once a month, or a mandatory happy hour that you have to attend. And so it's important to it's important for your employer to value you as a person and as an employee. So if they say things like, yeah, we have a mandatory, like, um, you know, we have a mandatory, weekend silence where you're not expected to answer emails on the weekend, or we have flexible on call, so if you ever need to trade off a day with somebody else, there'll be no repercussions for you. Or we have minimum of X% raises yearly, so you will always get a raise, and then if you perform well, then you get more percent, more raise. So if it, and also too, um watch out for like cynicism among the interviewers. So if the team is like, yeah, this is, yeah, you'll learn soon enough about what our culture is like around here. If you A lot of times your interviewer is going to want to kind of like warn you without warning you, because they want to fill the position, but they're also going to want to be honest with you to some degree. And so just ask those types of questions and just vet the response and see if it's something that see if you hear any little red flags going off in your brain. And yeah, that's just my experience. Is answering those cultural questions during the interview can be better than asking them after you get an offer. I know that's what Leon recommends, is asking them after you get the offer, but in my opinion, that's too late, because they know that they kind of got you hooked. And so I don't know. Personal preference is me asking them in the interview, showing my passion for the culture, showing that I value myself as a person, that I'm not going to take crap from a company that has a bad culture. um, can really help you vet out whether the company is going to be a good fit for you culture wise. Um, you have a background in dentistry. Oh, that's cool. Any suggestions from a non-dental point of view? Suggestions about what? Can you clarify that question a little bit for me? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, Pokemon rock paper scissors. That's fun. Just be sure that if you are doing that for your big project, be sure that it's very unique in the way it functions as well. Because rock paper scissors can be one of those that's very boot campy. But if you make it unique enough and fun enough and have cool features, then I think you could probably spin it. You think your ideas are bigger than what you can actually do? Code the minimum viable product and see how big that is. And then maybe sometimes you gotta cut features. That's a that happens in every tech project. You come in with pie in the sky, like we can do everything. It's not going to take any time at all. And then what you end up with in the end is usually a very trimmed down version of what the idea was at the start. But it still works. Boil it down to a simple idea and then add features. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Naraku, welcome. We're having fun in here today. Oh yeah, everybody check out Boza here's Beast G. Check out their comments. They're an employer and they're dropping some knowledge in here. We denied several people with an attitude. And this goes back to what I said about confidence. Confidence is a good thing. Being unwilling, showing that you're unwilling to learn or thinking that you know everything already is not a good thing. So we denied several people with an attitude. They thought they were king of the hill, either from underconfidence or overconfidence. In general, underconfidence is more forgiving because it's easier to build up. Yeah. Um, than to make someone know they don't really have the skills without breaking the person. Yeah. 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 To show that you can be flexible, show that you can adapt. So for example, the folks that are coming from like service backgrounds, backgrounds where you got to work with the public, backgrounds where you got to work in an environment that's chaotic, those like that's something to be proud of. That's something to highlight because man, that takes some skills. I don't have those skills. I couldn't work with the public all day. Jeepers, the public is terrible. So for those of you that are doing it all day every day, like that's that shows that you can be flexible. That shows that you can adapt. That's something to call out as like I can go with the flow, man. I can learn, I can adapt, I can learn whatever you want me to learn, and then I can go explain it to Joe Public, who's who doesn't understand anything. And so like that's yeah, I love that. I love that those comments about how overconfidence can be dangerous. Better to show that you can learn than to try to show that you know everything already. We're a family here, Black Flag. Yeah, don't trust that. You ain't their family. Cabby says my current company is a We Are Family Here company. Yeah. Charming Granger, what apps will you learn that help build the $100 project? All you need is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we're gonna be picking up Node here next week or Thursday, hopefully, depending on how Leon is doing. Um, but here in the next week, we're gonna be picking up Node, and then right after that, we're gonna be picking up backend stuff, and then you'll have everything that you need. If my interviewer laughs out of mental health day policies, should I laugh back? Not quite sure I understand the question, but yeah, mental health is important too. Being flexible, if your interview can show that they're flexible as far as like, not like you have to be at your desk at 8 a.m. every day, and we will be tracking your uptime on Teams. And if you ever go yellow during the day, unless it's at lunch, then you get a demerit. Um, that's not good. You want to like, especially in a work from home environment, your employer should trust you that you're going to be getting your work done, you're going to be delivering on time, and then you will uphold that trust by getting your work done and delivering on time. There should be that implicit trust, that implicit respect between you and your employer. Is there anything I wish I'd learned more about going into your first tech job? Yeah, culture. How to ask about culture before I got into a situation that really messed me up mentally for a bit. Not in a bad way. My coworkers were great, but the environment, being in e-commerce, the environment was just like I said before. E-commerce is nonstop. It is 24/7, and I was driving like at Christmas, like 2 days before Christmas, driving into work in the dark at 6 a.m. and then not seeing the sun and leaving work 12 hours later, working in a windowless office and leaving work 12 hours later to drive home in the cold 2 days before Christmas, after an extremely stressful day. It's just not giving up weekends, giving up holidays. It's not healthy. You think they say you're family, and so you got to work hard for the family, and you got to work hard for the hustle, and then you get a gift card at the end of a $25 gift card for Steak and Shake, at the end of the holiday. That's not family. I wouldn't do that to my family. And so learning how to suss out that culture before you get into it can be really helpful. And you can Google that too if you're not sure what to ask about culture, or what pitfalls to watch out for in an interview. I think before my last interview, before I interviewed for the employer that I have now, I was googling the heck out of what type of questions to ask to try to figure out those cultural red flags. Yeah, so feel free to Google it. I mean, there's lots of guidance out there. Um, yeah, Boza here's dropping more knowledge there. It is resilience and eagerness. Resilience and eagerness. That is a huge pro. Also, the market in this era is very challenging. It's not completely about gathered knowledge, but an ability to learn new things. Yep, like I said, the market is really fast, and it is better to be able to solve and dig into a new thing than to know how old technology works. Being able to Google it is very important. Yes, Google is your friend. Day to day, being a real developer, you're going to be Googling crap all the time. I just got here, but I see the Wolfgang is inside tonight. Yeah, we're having a lot of fun together. You did home health for patients with dementia. Wow. Yeah, that takes so much energy, physically and mentally. Yeah, language barrier. Oh yeah, there's lots of folks that where English is not their first language that are excelling in the tech field. Is if you can demonstrate your skills and be a just be a personable person. Be friendly, be yourself. Don't get too hung up on always using the right word or phrase, but demonstrating through your portfolio, through your projects, through your actions that you really do know your stuff. And that's not to say that there's not going to be inherent biases here and there. Um, but then that's probably not a good fit for you anyway. The guy in the video we were assigned about async await talks so fast it was alarming. Yeah, he talked really fast. Piece of Shoot says, "Yeah, I used to be that cocky guy when I graduated." Yeah, yeah, and that there's a lot of that in college. You just encounter a lot of folks that are just like big man, right? And I'll admit I was that way a little bit until I went to college. I was always growing up. I was always kind of a big fish in a small pond. I was in the gifted classes, and I was in my high school. I didn't ever have to study. I just cruised right on through. It just it was easy for me. And then I got to college, and it kicked me in the face. And so it's important to learn that humility, to learn that you don't always have to be. People are still going to like you if you're not the smartest person in the room, and they're going to like you more if you ask intelligent questions to try to get better at the things you don't know. Make sure to avoid the company if they're a sweatshop factory producing red flags at an alarming rate. Same with relationships. Yeah. If the work is at the expense of your health, run. Absolutely. You'd never have to give up your health, especially not in a tech job. A tech job, that's not life and death. Unless you're like, I don't know, the main system administrator for a hospital, which you're probably, odds are you're not going to be. This type of stuff that you're doing in tech, for the most part, is not life or death. It should never be at the expense of your health, because that is life and death. And I learned that lesson the hard way. And now in my current role, you know, I I've discovered sort of I sort of rediscovered who I am. Like, I have the time to do these sorts of things in the evening. I have the time to sit down and play Control, and then, on my computer, and then have a 2.5 hour stream with you guys. I don't feel anxious or stressed about what's happening tomorrow. I know I'm going to be fine. It's not life or death. I'm going to go into work, do what I need to do, and then bounce. Yeah, and that's a piece of shoot also says research why the job posting is open. Huge turnout is also a humongous red flag. So, Yeah, and that can be the type of thing that you ask the interviewer. If that's not something you figure out beforehand, you can just be like, hey, so as you once you kind of warmed up and got into the conversation a little bit, you can say like, so you can kind of get into the team dynamics. So what caused you? So what caused the team to put this posting out there? Like what prompted the need for this open position? So you're not accusing anybody. You're not saying why did the last guy leave. I want to know, was it a did they suck, or was it or was the culture so terrible that they felt they had to leave? No, you're just saying, so what prompted the need to post this position? And that can also lead into conversations of why you would be a great fit for the role to contribute it. So no matter what they say, you turn that back around and leverage if it's not a red flag, if it's a positive thing, like, yeah, we're expanding the team, we've got some great new projects. So I and oh yeah, tell me about some of those projects that y'all are getting into. And then you can leverage that. Once you know the details, you can say, oh yeah, so you're going to do some that product that so you're going to do some automation to try to automate your workflow. Well, I actually did a project where I automated the workflow for customers to input their feedback remotely, and then have it automatically be aggregated and deliver summary reports to the shareholders. And so you can tie it back to work that you've done then. So the more information they give you, the more you can pick through and pull it apart and tie it to things that you've done, and then throw it back at them to say, like, yeah, I've done something like that. This is in my wheelhouse. This is how I can contribute to those projects. So the more information that you can get out of them, the more you can cherry pick to get to the things that you're good at and focus on those. And also too, the more that the more that you keep control of the conversation, the less time that they have to spin it around and really try to pull you apart. So that can be an advantage as well. Keeping them talking, keeping the conversation going, um, makes it so they're less likely to go back to their default question list, which is going to be more like the banky type stuff. Makes it less likely for them, makes it more likely for them to focus on the things that you want to focus on versus the things that are just on their generic list of questions. But things that may involve things that you're not familiar with. You can Google all day. You're delighted to do that. Oh yeah, I Google all the time. There's no way that even the most experienced developer can know everything. Google is your second brain. Mm-hmm. Hello, Alita. Welcome. And then I got to 100 devs and it kicked me in the face again. Yeah, you learn to you learn to take those face kicks, and instead of falling on the ground, you do a backflip. I mean, and then you come back for more. And so that's what Leon says a lot, right? Is managing frustrations. And for a lot of us, growing up as kids, that's not something that we learn, how to manage frustration, how to fail at stuff, how to just suck occasionally. And one of my favorite quotes of all time is from the cartoon Adventure Time. And in it, one of the characters, Jake the dog, says, dude, the first step is, I'm going to get this wrong. Hang on. I got to Google it. Oh yeah, it's like, dude, the first the sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something. So sucking at something is the first step to being kind of good at something, because you're throwing yourself out at face first, and you're probably going to fail, but you are going to learn. And so when if you're trying to build a project and you keep getting nothing but errors, you know you keep getting errors in the console, and it's so frustrating. You just want to throw it out the window. Just get up, take a walk for 10 minutes, let it sort of simmer in your brain, in the back of your brain, and then go sit down and try something else, and try, try it again, tweak your code. And you'll end up learning far more than you ever would if you just stuck to your comfort zone and just read about it rather than doing it. Hospitals and banks are stressful. Heck yes. Yeah. So, if that's I feel like any role where you interact with the public is like absolute gold for working in the tech industry, because that shows you can learn, You can adapt to changing situations. You can function well in a stressful environment. You can communicate well with people who may not have knowledge about the types of things that you have knowledge about. And you have to explain those things in a way that's understandable and isn't going to piss them off. And you learn all those things when you interact with the public. Absolutely. Alice says, "What would you say is a good project to get familiar with or practice with promises?" API stuff. I mean, I would say, yeah, try hitting APIs and try extracting. So, like, pick an API like the Pokemon API, which is super complex and like has a lot of depth to it. Like, if you drill down into that, it actually gives you URLs for other calls to the API. But so you have to make a call to the API and then pull that apart and get the URL for the next call, make that call, and then pull it apart. And so by that very nature, that requires promises to function, to in order to make those calls in sequence. So try that. Try a complex API and try extracting information that requires information from a previous step. That can be a good way to practice promises. Uh, Dream roll publishing the daily menu for a nice restaurant in Jackson Hole. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Gonna need Remedy to get on that control too ASAP. Yeah, I'm enjoying the first one. I'm probably, I don't even know how far I don't know how far I am in Control One, and I'm happy that way. Forgot the comments. Okay, I feel like tonight I'm doing nothing but commenting. Fun fact: you used to work in South Korea, right next to the art studio where they drew Adventure Time. Oh, that's rad! That's so cool. Yeah, Adventure Time is one of my favorite shows of all time. Um, Let us not fear sucking. Fear is the mind killer. Yeah, absolutely. But that's not to say that you're not allowed to be afraid. Um, Sometimes, like, having a healthy amount of nervousness and fear is what's going to prompt us to make sure that we're properly prepared to tackle that challenge. If it's like an interview, you don't want to just like swagger into it, be like, yeah, I got this. If I bomb and it doesn't matter at all. No, you want to have a certain healthy amount of um, you know nervousness to say, like, look, I need to prepare for this. I need to be ready, and then prepare enough, but then um, you don't want to let the nervousness overwhelm you to the point where you forget everything that you know, right? So preparation is the best way to tackle to try to get to that healthy amount of nervousness, is appropriate preparation. So that way you can get to the point where you say, look, I have prepped as much as I possibly can. I still, I don't know what's going to happen. My heart's going a little bit, but I've prepared as much as I feel like I physically can. And I've got all my stuff. I got what's in my brain. I've got my notes, and I'm ready. I'm going to go for it. So that's how I go into every interview that I've ever done, and it's never failed me. I have never gotten to the point where I have gotten an in-person interview and then not gotten the job. Um, so, and we'll talk more about interviewing later in class, and I'm sure I'll talk more about it on stream. But just, preparation, doing what Leon says, knowing these questions inside and out, knowing your own work inside and out. What have I done? What have I done, and what are the main advantages to the things I've done? What did I learn from the things that I've done? What are some things that I'm most proud of, that I'm going to sound excited when I talk about? Those are also important to know. You got a chance to get a copy of Gears of War 3 signed by John DiMaggio? That's rad. He seems like a really cool guy. Hey, Binary, welcome. What's up? Hey, so what's this stream about? So, I haven't seen you around the stream before, but normally I do kind of project streams where we're learning JavaScript, we're learning web development. And so normally I do streams that are very project focused, or we do specific homework questions, or we work on concepts. Um, and feel free to check out my VOD to see the types of things that I normally talk about. But tonight we're doing kind of a YOLO impromptu stream. I got nothing scheduled. We're talking about what it's like to get a job in tech. Um, what it's like to get a job in tech, what it's like to interview, and just talking about, like, how to get every single person in this chat, how to get them a job. So yeah, we're just, I don't know, Q&A type deal. We're having a lot of fun. It's been it's been going by really fast. I've been talking the entire time. Yeah. I'm also going to be streaming tomorrow too, where we're going to go over some common like technical questions in interviews in by technical questions I mean like coding related type questions if you're trying to get a web developer job, and we're going to go over how to find the answers to those questions and then how to phrase them in an appropriate way. um, Freestyle. Yeah, absolutely, it's all freestyle tonight. um, Bob's Burgers the movie's out next week, good to know. Ah, Florence, yeah, thanks for stopping in, I always love seeing you around. Okay, I think I got about 15 minutes before I'm going to wrap things up. So we're going to keep this to just a solely Q&A stream. Actually, I think I'm actually going to edit. I think I can edit the stream topic. I'm just going to do that just to be clear. So when this goes onto the VOD, that folks know what this is about. And I'll edit it later. I don't have to do it now. I think I can change that later. Um, Yeah, we're cheesing the process. Absolutely. And again, it's not cheesing. We're not cheating at all. We're not, we are learning how to play the game because it is a game. And it's rigged against you. The employer has all the cards, you have none. They are going to try to, the basic process is to basically, the employer wants the best candidate that's going to make them the most money. And so in your case is to then try to turn that around a little bit and be the best candidate and also get the most money so that both you and the employer end up benefiting. That's the goal. Is that you don't want, right now the scale starts with, tipped in the employer's favor, right? You want to get things this close to level or potentially in your favor a little bit as possible. That's all you can do. And yeah, and Bose is just up in here dropping knowledge as an employer. I so appreciate this. Thank you so much. You're giving some wonderful perspective from the other side of the table, and I really appreciate it. They say don't fear too much about giving the right answers. A good employer knows who he or she wants on his team. Sometimes you want a front runner that is verbal extrovert. Sometimes you want someone that is supportive or an introvert or skilled. In the beginning, you want to set a base to get experience. So be flexible, but know your skills. Not as cocky, but because you know and like it. So like be knowledgeable, but not cocky. Right? Yeah. Um, Second, most important, focus on what gives you energy, not only on what you can. Dragging a smile around is important. Yeah, absolutely. Be personable. It sounds cheesy, but being able to be friendly will get you a long way. Um, People want to like you. And if you can be likable, that can make up for a lot of deficiencies. Um, and and especially for women, there's usually an added burden where you are expected to be friendly and smiley, even if that's not your natural personality. It's basically a base requirement to be personable, as a woman or female presenting person, because there's just a cultural bias in that way. Now, of course, any gender should feel like they should feel like being personable is going to get you farther, and it is. And just in my experience, it can be even there can be even a higher bar for women and female presenting people. But yeah, having a smile and making that smile be as natural as possible can get you a long way. Being likable, being personable, maybe being a little bit funny, without being crude. Maybe cracking a joke here and there can also be good. Um, Especially maybe if it's a joke about something that your interviewer enjoys, like in a good way, like a positive joke, that can help as well. But we've talked about so much. Don't expect to go in and ace your next interview, because we covered a crap ton of stuff, and we're going to be talking about it a whole bunch more in class. And like I said, Leon has way more experience with this stuff than I do. He's a professional, and I'm sure he's going to be able to speak to even more about these types of skills. I'm just trying to give you like a crash course intro, personal experience only, about the types of things that have worked for me in the past. Oh, thank you for the bits, Bose. That's much appreciated. What does a typical day look like for me as a senior SQL dev? Yeah, that's awesome. Um, so yeah, so kind of depends. My job is a little, my role is a little bit in flux right now, but in general, on a normal day, I'll come in, I'll immediately check my emails, just because we have a lot of automated processes that run overnight. I need to make sure that none of those processes have failed. Because if they failed, then we've got a problem, and we need to be all hands on deck to help investigate the problem. But again, it's not life or death. I'm not checking my email at midnight when the processes are actually running. I check it in the morning when I go into work, because that's when my work starts. And so, if I was on call, I'm on call about once a month. And so if something really bad did go wrong, I'd get a phone call. It's just how it goes. But I check my emails, and then assuming everything's fine there, I usually have a project that I'm actively working on at all times. Um, so I'll have something that's been assigned to me as a developer, and I do just independent work, whether that's writing into some documentation or um, running something into the database, testing my code against a development version of the database, so not live. And I don't test in production. We don't do that. You test your stuff thoroughly in a development environment first, and then once it's ready, then I usually will take it to a peer review with somebody else on the team. We walk through it together, we go through a checklist to make sure that I've met all the criteria. And usually I miss something. Usually it's like, oh, I didn't format something correctly, or oh, I forgot a step, I forgot to enable something or other, or I forgot to change this configuration on a load mapping or something like that. And then I go back and I fix stuff. And sometimes there's multiple rounds of that. And then I talk to and at various points through the project, I'm talking with the project submitter. So the person that asked for what we don't develop things just because we want them. We generally develop things because people have asked for them. And so I'll talk to the project submitter and say, hey, I did this. I thought it might be something that you wanted, but let me run it by you. I'll send you some data. You can read through it, see if it looks the way that you want, and if not, I can roll it back. It's no big deal. And so they're going to have back and forth with the person that submitted the project. But again, they generally know their stuff, so you can be somewhat technical with them. Um, and of course, I have meetings and stuff, but I don't have a ton of meetings. Most of my and again, this is a normal day. So like right now, we've started on a major initiative at work. We're switching our whole database structure over to a new paradigm, to a whole new structure. So um, going from like a straight up relational model to a star model. For those of you who know databases a little bit, it's a big change. Um, and so that's what I'm involved in right now at work. So it's not really been typical for me, but um, yeah, I mean, prior to that, that was what my days generally look like. Oh, Bose says, I like you how people just take my comments as input, not truth. I mean, they're your truth, right? You're an employer, and that's your truth. And I feel like that's the truth for a lot of employers. There's high demand for female developers since a lot of teams are currently sidelobbed. Yeah, so that's true. For those of you who are female or identify as such, a lot of teams are heavily male, although that is changing. Right now, my current team at work is all male. I am the only female. Um, I personally, just me personally, I tend to work well with male teams because that's the kind of team that I've worked with for most of my career. Being in a technical role, you tend to work with a lot of guys, and you just you learn the way that they work, and you fit yourself to that. However, there's also other teams at my work that are just doing the same thing that I'm doing, and there's another team that's all female. So um, it depends on a lot of factors. And like I say, the ratio seems to be rapidly changing. Companies are actively recruiting women, um, and trying to diversify their teams. And so I feel like that paradigm is shifting very rapidly. I don't think I've ever said paradigm this much in my entire life, but here we are. So yeah, the ratios are shifting all the time. So don't feel daunted. If you're a woman or identifying as female, um, don't feel daunted by oh, it's a bros club, it's all boys, boys club. Maybe it used to be, in the early in back in the 90s or early 2000s, but I wouldn't say it's that way anymore. It's changing all the time, and you can be a part of that change, which is also important. Hey, hello, it's Rufio, my fellow stream team member. Hello, man. Yeah, I've been catching more of your streams lately. I dig it. You're so chill. I love it. But it's way more fun to test in production. Piece of shit sense. Yeah, testing working in a dev environment versus working in production. I again at that this e-commerce company that I keep mentioning, they didn't have a dev environment. Everything we did was in production, and so every day was an adventure, an adventure in breaking things. Yeah, testing and test is for whimsies. Production is where it happens. Yeah, they don't call it a scream test for nothing. Yeah, I do work from home. Yep, yep. I work from home. I used to work in an office because universities, again, I work for a university. They tend to be very slow to change. They're just they're very traditional, and so they didn't have any sort of work from home policy until COVID hit, and then everybody worked from home, and then they were like, "Hey, actually, wait, this is saving us a lot of money," and now everyone works from home for the most part. Yeah. It also makes it easier for companies to find, a more diverse workforce when you can, when you can go elsewhere, out of state, out of the country. In the terms of my university, it's been mostly just other states so far, but there's a few folks that are American citizens working from other countries for the university. It's pretty cool. Life goal say paradigm 10 times complete. Yes. Yeah, 20 to 30% of devs in the US identifies female, depending on what survey you look at. Yeah, absolutely. And I think certain sector, and again, that's another one of those culture questions too. Um, kind of feeling out your potential employer to see, what type of accommodations they make for based on specific needs for is there maternity leave for women, is there paternity leave for men, for fathers, is there for those who are mothers, is there considerations for lactation or baby needs, um, related to the office, for parents in general, what kind of considerations are there for parents, because that can show you how they treat, that they value you as a person, and less like a number, um, or a money machine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. 9 months maternity leave, 2 days for paternity in my country. That's rad. So the U.S. really doesn't have many protections at all for. I'm not a parent. I'm just saying, kind of the things that I've heard and experienced, and watched others experience. Um, the U.S. has very few protections at all for parents in the workforce, and so a lot of it's company by company basis. So it's important that you know what you're getting into, just in general, the U.S. has very few worker protections that are built in. No, really no guaranteed vacation days or anything like that, and so you got to know the culture, because you got to know that if the law won't take care of you, you got to know that your company at least will. Yeah, it's not really about being girl slash boy. Most important aspect that I see in dev teams is the feeling of being a team. It requires different skills. Having women in there really helps. Yeah, just having diversity on your team in general, it really leads to better perspectives, better collaboration, and that feeling of being a team too can also help insulate against potential discrimination for any reason, because if you're on a team that's actually values each other as a team, they're not going to let that shit fly. They're gonna come, they're gonna have your back. Like, for example, at my current workplace, I know that if anything ever happened, if I've ever felt discriminated against, um, you know both my manager and my team would assist me, however, whatever I needed. And that's really valuable as well. That gives you some additional protection to where you can feel comfortable in the place that you're working. Okay, it is 10 o'clock. I have really enjoyed talking with you guys. I could take like a couple more questions and then we'll wrap it up. But I've had such a good time. This is not what I was expecting that this stream was going to be, but I'm glad it turned out this way, honestly. Um, and tomorrow we'll go back to the more structured format. But we'll be going through the bank. We'll be answering some technical questions from the bank to start getting you those pathways in your brain, so that when you have to answer those questions in an interview, that they feel natural. Um, Yeah, so Piece of Shoot says, I've been in tech for the past 16 years and I wish that this was always the case. I've seen some pretty shitty situations, but I'm glad there's a generational change and people are being viewed as people. Yeah, it's definitely swinging that way. I'm not saying it's perfect. I've certainly encountered non ideal situations, but it's improving. And I think that's great. And I'm saying again, knowing the type of culture that you're getting into um, can really help swing that pendulum in the favor of a healthy work-life balance. Wolfpack right out. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming today, everybody. Um, Feel free to catch me on Twitter. Catch my VODs. Just go to my Twitch channel. Look at my past videos. Exclamation point YouTube if you want to get my YouTube channel. And that's where I post all the VODs that have aged out on Twitter. Um, hey, thank you, Hans Vermont. Thank you for coming. Yeah, always appreciated. Mine Wolf equals best streamer. Thank you. I'm happy. I love coming in. I love seeing all you guys and talking to you guys. And I'm so excited to see all you guys get jobs. It's going to be rad. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much for coming, Rufio. Always love seeing you. In time and night. Yeah. Okay, let's find someone to raid, shall we? Let's make somebody's day. I always like doing that. It's so much fun. I feel like because my raids are like a really good size, so they don't overwhelm the person. It just makes them happy. Because you know the messages aren't going by at a mile a minute. They can actually see that it's a friendly raid, right? So give me 1 second. We're gonna get it pulled up. Dashboard. There's something fun about terrifying streamers with thousands of raiders. I mean, it's always cool when they like catch on and they're like, oh my gosh, it's real. Yeah, that's always fun. Um, ooh, we got Mastermind. Mastermind is on. You want to raid Mastermind? We could double their viewer count. Oh, Melody Dev. Oh yeah, Melody Dev is on. Oh yeah. Let's do Melody. Let's see what they're doing first. Oh, looks like they're doing something dev related. So let's get them on. I really hope that they join the stream team too. So let's show them some love. I'm just gonna check the chat here, make sure I didn't miss anything else before we go. Oh, what? Mastermind. What? Oh, hey guys, how you doing? Wow, welcome. That's so rad. I was just gonna raid you. uh, I was just gonna raid Mastermind. They got to me first, man. They got to me first. Welcome. So yeah, hi everybody. So I was actually just wrapping up, but we had a really good stream today. And today we talked about what it's like to work in tech. I basically just answered questions about what it's like to work in tech, what it's like to interview. Um, so if you've never had a tech job before, feel free to catch my VOD. And I've just been answering questions this whole time. What it's like to interview, what it's like to work in tech, what's given me success in interviews. Culture questions, day to day, daily life questions, questions about what I do, who I am, that kind of thing. Confusion rated by the rated. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Mastermind. That's I. You're awesome, man. Um, thank you so much. Well, I'm happy to hang around a little bit. I mean, I was about to switch off, but um, I can since this raid is awesome. So feel free to ask me. We're having a YOLO stream tonight. Feel free to check out my my VODs on my Twitch channel. Normally my streams are more structured and we have a specific project and we cover a specific topic. But tonight we're just doing YOLO. So I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm currently employed as a SQL developer. I'm a senior. My official title is Senior Business Intelligence Developer. It sounds really cool, but basically, I work with SQL, and I work for a major university here in the United States, and I work with their student data in their student databases for a major university. So we handle a lot of data. And yeah, that's all I've ever done. And so I'm participating in the 100 Devs Learn with Leon course to broaden my skills. But yeah, so I am currently working in tech, so I'm happy to answer any of those questions. Wonder what would have happened to raid collision. Who knows? Oh. How many banky questions did we get through? None. We spent the whole time just talking and it was rad. But if you want to do banky questions with me, come back tomorrow. I'm going to be streaming again and we are going to be hitting it hard and we're going to be covering as many banky questions as we can get through. And by banky, I mean the sorts of technical questions that you're going to encounter in an interview. And thank you so much, Tucker Tech. Thank you for the resubscribe. Much appreciated. And our look MH, thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you so much for the subs. That really means a lot to me. But yeah, so tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be hitting the bank. And we're going to be covering as many questions as we get through. I'm sure this is going to take multiple rounds to get. There's a lot of questions there, right? But yeah, we had a really great time tonight, just talking, and I'm happy to keep talking a little bit more. If any of you folks that rated have anything that you want to ask me about working in tech, or I don't know, I'm an open book. Yeah, yeah. And there's folks also in the chat too that are currently working in tech as well or have experience in tech that are also happy to answer questions. Oh, Beverand, you're a SQL programmer too? That's rad. Are you working with SQL Server or Oracle or another are you or like Postgres or one of those? What do you what flavor of SQL do you work with? Ah, SQL Server. Yeah, yeah, that's rad. So I do have experience with Microsoft SQL Server. That's what I worked with in my first big SQL job. Um, and then I had to had to switch to PL SQL for my current role. It's sort of like the difference between American English and British English. You know, there's the accent is different and some of the words are different as well. Oh, you worked with Oracle and Vertica too. That's rad. Ooh, T-SQL. Yeah. I think I like SQL Server better, but like I mean, just in usage wise. But and Oracle has more joins than MS. Yeah, it's true. You do a lot of Postgres these days, so you can get your apps on Heroku. Yeah, yeah. Postgres is great. I need to get into that. Postgres is like it's like a more flexible version of SQL, um, and it can do more stuff. Not saying it's better or worse, but it's just different. So no, it's another flavor that can maybe have a little bit more flexibility and be a little bit more modern, at least from what I understand. Because SQL's pretty old. It was first conceived in the 1970s, so it's an old one. It's the type where you type in all caps. Object oriented is one of the things that I understand about Postgres. Yeah, yeah. Postgres is has embraces more of those modern concepts like OOP. Oh, Arlek, thank you so much. Thank you. Like I say, teach. So streaming is the way that I teach. Sorry, streaming is the way that I learn. I learn through teaching, um, and so this is really helpful for me as well. Yeah. Okay, looks like the questions are slowing down a little bit. I'm happy to keep talking, but I'm also happy to set up a raid. So can throw even more people at somebody. One last thing. Yeah, go for it, Beverin. Go. You mean sequel does, but don't want to make the commercial. No, oh, okay. All right, all right, all right. Everybody listen up. If you know some sequel, Bose needs sequel devs. So, you know, maybe hit them up. Do a little networking, 100 devs. Y'all know how to do that. Network it up. Let's make some connections. Hey, Linda. Maybe, yeah, shoot Bose a whisper if they're cool with that. Oh, Count, you got a front end engineer interview tomorrow? Send you some vibes? Yeah, absolutely. For the $100 project to implement testing, from what I see, objects make for easier testing. As for what do you mean by testing? I mean, are you talking about like figuring out where the problems are, handling errors and that kind of thing? Then yeah, I would say objects help separate things into separate buckets, right? And so if one thing breaks, you can easily target the thing that's broken and fix it without worrying about messing up, the rest of your code by changing one thing and causing like a ripple effect. Whereas if you have things sort of encapsulated, then you can more easily, figure out like the thing that's broken and just fix that one thing, right? Oh, automated testing. Okay. Yeah, I'm afraid I don't know too much about that. But who knows? Maybe there's somebody in chat that does. Yeah, good luck, Count the Shells. I'm sending you good vibes. Yeah. Sanucha. Okay. I love this question, Sanucha. Yes. So Sanucha says, I know select star from table. Does that count? Yes, it counts. Because when I got my first job using SQL, that's all I knew. I knew how to do select star from table and then maybe like do a left join, like, left join, whatever, right? Left join another table. That is literally all I knew. But what did I do? Put that shit on my resume and I got a job. So, yes, it counts. Like somebody said earlier, you know how to say hello world? You know how to say hello world? Then put it on your resume. I mean, what's the worst thing, what's the worst thing that can happen is that, maybe like, if you study your banking, you can sound intelligent when you answer those types of questions. Um, And the worst thing that can happen is you maybe start out in your job, like you get hired and you start out in your job a little bit over your head, right? Maybe you feel a little bit underwater. But then what you do is like Leon says, you work your butt off for the first 3 months and try to, just absorb as much as you can, as quick as you can, show that willingness to learn, and you'll be fine. You'll pick it up. SQL especially. SQL is so, I'm not going to say it's easy because it's not, but the actual syntax of SQL is it was literally constructed to be similar to the English language. So it reads like a sentence. And so it makes logical sense the way it's written, basic SQL anyway. The hard part is usually understanding the data structures that you're working with. So the tables and databases that you're working with. And that is what your employer is going to be teaching you anyway. So you have Linda. You have a master's in data analytics, and you had to get an Oracle admin cert for it. Holy cannoli, that's awesome! Wow, I didn't even know they had certs for that kind of thing. That's rad. Dang, master's in data analytics. So, have you ever been like a data scientist? Is that something you're interested in too? Oh, you can do simple stuff with Postgres. Throwing it on this, yes, put it on your skills list. If you can do functional stuff with Postgres, put it on the skills list. Just yeah, do it, man. That's totally valid. Admin is different than developer, but I wouldn't, say that that just by being an admin that you know less than a developer. I would say it's just a difference, maybe a different skill set, but that's not to say that those skill sets can't overlap. Um, Linda, you love databases. Yeah, I do too. Databases, like I said earlier, if you're in doubt about, you know, about the back end, or you know, the usefulness of the back end, because it's not glamorous. You know, it's not glamorous like a web page. It's not visually pretty. But databases make the world go round. Literally, they do. They control, you know, they're the backbone of every company. All the logistics in the world, you know, are running off of a database of some kind. And, you know, it might be big, it might be small, but literally every single company and business is going to interact with a database of some kind every single day. They couldn't function without it. And so, you know, having database skills is really useful. Linda says, I got a job in finance after graduation and they won't let me quit. Oh man. I hope they won't let you quit because the money is so good that you don't want to quit. That's going to be my mental narrative. Linda says they gave me a raise the last time I tried. Hey, that's a good way to keep your job security. Just keep the every time you try to quit, they just give you more money. Man, that's a good problem to have, I think. Assuming that the culture is decent and you're not like, you know, burning out mentally. That's important too. You need a dev seller to quit now. I'm at about junior dev level. Okay, let's address that real quick. Don't try to level yourself. Don't try to say, well, maybe I'm at this level, or I don't know if I don't know if I'm at the right level to apply to such and such. Real talk. Before my current role, I was a data analyst, like person that analyzed data, right? And but I was doing a lot of things that were outside of the scope of that job description. But what if you would have come in off the street and said, what level of developer are you? Like, you know, pointed at me in the face and said, what level of developer are you? Deer in the headlights. I would have been like, I've never been a developer before. I don't know, entry level, junior. But what am I today? I'm a senior dev because I took the chance. I networked a little bit, and then I said, I am going to just shoot my shot and go for a senior dev role. And I got it. So don't try to pigeonhole yourself by saying, well, I don't think I'm at that level yet. Or, you know, oh, I don't have I haven't been doing this long enough to be even a regular dev, you know, much less a senior dev. Don't self limit. Because that's just that's just limiting your opportunities. Hey, Intelligence, thank you so much for the sub. Thank you so much. I wanted to finish my little speech there. I wanted to get off my soapbox and then and then thank you for the sub. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. So, Linda, if you it sounds like it sounds like your current job loves you enough to keep paying you just so that you won't quit. To me, that sounds like someone with a lot of good skills um, that might try shooting their shot at a senior level. I don't know, or networking your way into a senior level position to get that money. Nick says, I'm still unfortunately tiptoeing at my job about my goals with tech. Yeah, I mean, it can be hard to try to improve your skills at your current employer without like tipping your hand and being like, I'm trying to leave. Um, I mean, in my case, I just basically made myself in my current role before the one I'm in now. I basically made myself useful and took on some extra stuff that would help me grow without being like yeah, I feel like I'm undervalued. I'm about to jump ship. It was more like being kind of strategic about it and like saying like, okay, I'm going to take this project, I'm going to learn some stuff, and then this is going to be a line on my resume in a few months, which is kind of what I did. I learned some automation. I built an automated I built an automated, essentially an automated SharePoint site, but like an SharePoint Online, which is the more robust, newer version that allows for a lot of that kind of thing. I built an automated SharePoint site, which I then leveraged heavily in my job interviews to say, like, look, here's the kind of thing I can think logically, I can build automation. Please hire me. Please let me be a developer, please. And that also helped. Okay, but like what if then they expect too much of you because you didn't say your level? Expecting too much of you. Um, so any good employer worth their salt is going to want to train you, to train you up to get you to the level that you need to be. That can be the kind of thing that you can also kind of suss out in the interview. You can be like, so, what's the what are these first, few weeks or months, what are the types, so you can kind of phrase it in like, what are the types of things you'd like me to be working on, in 2 weeks versus 1 month versus 6 months? What type of progression do you see for my onboarding, and for getting me involved in getting me to be an active contributor to your team? And what you want to hear from them is like, yeah, we're gonna, um, you'll be working closely with a member of our team who'll be teaching you about our processes, who'll be teaching you about our, you know um, who will be teaching about the kinds of things that we do, our day-to-day roles, our systems, and in working with you to answer questions. And then, you should also get the feel that the rest of the team will be available to answer questions for you as well. And then, if, like, for example, in my role, the senior dev role, um, was I potentially underqualified? Yes, probably. By the strictest tenets of the job description, probably yes. But I got in there. I proved I was willing to learn. I asked a bunch of questions. I was paired with someone else on my team who basically like rode side saddle with me for hours and hours, teaching me about the documentation, about the systems. And then I spent a lot of time just figuring things out on my own as well. Like, panicking for a couple weeks of like trying to pick up as much as I could as quick as I could. And then it starts to even out after a while, and you'll rise to it. You'll rise to the level that you need to be. It's like Leon says, if you really want it, you'll rise to meet it. Um, and so that's why the interview stage is so crucial, because in order for you to rise to that, to meet that challenge, you need to make sure that you're going to have the kind of support that you need to get there, the kind of training, the kind of documentation, like, knowing that there's someone that when you have a stupid question you can ask them and they're not going to judge you. And that can be really helpful. So those are the types of questions that you ask about, like, what's my team going to be like, what are the types of tasks I'm going to be doing in week 2 versus month 1, versus the end of the month versus 6 months on, the types of contributions that are going to be expected of me. um, I hope that helps a little bit. Oh, Rufio, I see what you're going for. You're talking about more just in the interview, um, about, you didn't say your level, then they're disappointed and you didn't get the job. So I mean, yeah, I guess you're not gonna win them all, but in my experience, when I've been a little bit underqualified, is just really trying to show, like, my will. If I feel like I'm maybe like the underdog a little bit in this race, more of showing like, okay, look, I don't know that, but here's some examples of times when I haven't known something, and here's how I've picked it up and learned it and run with it. So yeah, okay, I may not know all of this stuff right now, but here's some concrete examples of how I can learn. My ability to learn, my ability to adapt. Here's some examples of how I've adapted to rapidly changing situations, and showed my worth, as in different ways. Here's some examples of times when, I've picked up a new skill to specifically to accomplish a project. Um, I might not know the answer to your specific question right now, but I feel like my portfolio and the examples that I've just shown demonstrate how I am adaptable, I'm flexible. I am willing and eager to learn from anybody who's willing to teach me, and I'm also willing to ask the type of questions that will best facilitate my learning. Um, and as while I'm learning, I want to be contributing in any way that I can. And I'm happy to do whatever work you want to assign me that will you feel like will best facilitate that learning. So know that I'm going to be dedicated to integrating myself in this culture. Know that I'm going to be passionate about this team, passionate about the works for reasons X, Y, and Z, which hopefully I've already talked about by this point. Know that I'm going to be passionate about the work, and that I'm going to really throw myself into becoming a valuable contributor to this team just as soon as I possibly can. So that's kind of off the cuff. That's how I might handle that. Not saying it's going to work, but um, in, modern tech teams really are looking for that adaptability and flexibility versus knowing literally every single thing that's in the job description. Uh, Bose, I assume that's a question for me. What are your thoughts on Azure? Maybe interesting looking at the future in cloud. Yeah, so my workplace is actually just starting to really leverage cloud solutions, especially the Microsoft, that whole Microsoft cloud ecosystem. The fact that so many of their apps are now fully tied together in the cloud, it opens up a lot of really awesome possibilities for collaboration. And like I said earlier, I used Microsoft Power Automate to automate a SharePoint site, and to basically then to tether that SharePoint site to Outlook and to Excel and to Teams, to Microsoft Teams. So tethering together all these apps, which used to be completely separate entities, tethering all of them together using Power Automate to automate an entire workflow. It's really cool. I love it. Bose says job jumping works well. It is sad, but I have the same experience. It's also positive. It gives you more perspective. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Focusing on jumping can pretty quickly end you up at consultancy agencies. Yeah, it's a balance, right? Like don't just like be at a job for 3 months and then be at another job for 3 months, and that shows that maybe the problem you know is less. Well, it gives the impression that the problem is less with the employer and more with maybe how you work with your employer. So yeah, you got to stick it out for a little bit at least, as long as it's not going to be if you're just if your employer is fine and you're just jumping around for salary increases, you got to be a little bit strategic about it. A lot of cloud stuff will be invisible to database developers. You normally wouldn't be doing provisioning and stuff. Yeah, some database tools are moving into the cloud. So currently, I'm learning Informatica Power Center, which this new project that we're doing at work is using for like mappings and workflows and that kind of thing. And that's actually moving to the cloud. So I'm learning the desktop version right now, and then I'm gonna have to turn right around and learn the cloud version probably in 6 months. So fun stuff. That's another thing about working in tech is you got to learn a lot of tools very quickly. So again, that's where that willingness to learn can come in handy. If you because you're gonna be learning a lot of different tools, and a lot of them are going to be pretty crappy. They're going to be somebody's homegrown interface with a terrible GUI, and that was written by Larry the coder 20 years ago, and now uses an outdated version of some code base that nobody knows how to edit. You've been applying, but a lot ask for many years of experience. Yeah, sometimes they ask for years of experience in languages that haven't even been around for that many years. So it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's a bit harsh, but so is the market. Yeah, the market is harsh, and again, it's the game, right? You got to play it. And I think, just in general, don't snitch on yourself and don't sell yourself short. Think about the things that you're proud of about yourself, about the work that you've done. All of us have done things that we're proud of. All of us have accomplishments. And some of it is just thinking about like your past work in a new way. Like I've had a lot of coffee chats with folks, and a lot of what I get is folks that are, um, working in like a very non-tech industry, like service industry or call center, or teaching or nursing, and they think that they have nothing to apply to, that none of that applies to tech in any way, and that's not true. Um, those skills of of adaptability, willingness to learn, ability to talk to people, ability to accept frequently changing rules and environments, ability to learn new tools and adopt new policies. All of those things are very important. So just sometimes thinking about your own accomplishments in a new way can help give you more confidence when you're going into those interviews. Shoot your shot, yeah. Not Larry's fault. Management kept denying the devs that wanted to refactor or update Larry's code before it was too late. Yeah, it always happens, right? You get somebody that wrote something really, really, crucial or an integral, and then nobody ever wants to touch it, and then Larry retires after 3 decades, and then nobody knows what to do. I've got a bit of a situation of a pending situation like that at work right now. Yeah, crucial people retiring, and then going, oh crap, what are we going to do when they retire? That always happens though, right? It's never the end of the world. That's, you know, in tech, it's never the end of the world. The stuff you're doing, it brings value, it brings money, but it's not the end of the world if something goes wrong, if something breaks. Um, that's what I like about tech. It's not the end of the world. Yeah, you all have value. Don't diminish yourselves. Yeah. And two, kind of going back to that question about like, what if I don't know something that I'm being asked in an interview? um I really, so there was a talk on the 100 devs discord a couple weeks ago by Jason Derulo, I think, a person who kind of self-taught, built a really cool app, and has had, you know kind of been through a lot of interviews, and coming being self-taught, they didn't know, they weren't able to go in and solve coding challenges on a whiteboard, right? They just couldn't do it. um, and they scored positions by literally saying, like, I don't know what you're asking me here, like this thing that you have up on the board, I don't know how to do that. And but owning that, saying, look, I don't know that, but look at some of the other things that I've done, and and tell me that look at some of the other things that I've done and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, obviously I do. Just because I can't solve this one specific, scenario, doesn't mean that I don't know, like what I'm doing. Let me show you some of the things that I've done, and then my thought process and how I went through them. And um, Jason Derulo said that worked for them. That they were able to get those positions by just saying, look at how I've practically applied this knowledge instead of this abstract, coding quiz. Um, look at how I've concretely applied this knowledge in the real world on real projects. So sometimes kind of flipping the narrative a little bit, might also be a way to approach that and say, look, I don't know this. I don't know the answer to the question, but I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to learn the answer. And I think I've demonstrated with my projects here that I am good at practically applying knowledge, picking up new knowledge, practically applying it. Um, and if you'll allow me, I would love to show you some examples of that. In these concrete examples that I have ready to go right here in my portfolio. Oh, it was Jesus. It's sorry, I'm not gonna say it right. De Jesus. I'm sorry, it's the wrong person. I saw Jason Derulo because they followed me earlier, and I was like, that's so cool. I'm sorry, I misidentified them. It was De Jesus. My apologies to them. Yeah, that was that. Yeah, they had an app. They built an app for Tekken that had 17,000 users, and then they basically leveraged that to get a very successful career. Yeah, I'm gonna hydrate again. I haven't hydrated in a long time. I've been talking, but I'm still having fun, so it's fine. Like I always say, I wouldn't be doing this if I wasn't having fun. Not making, I'm not making any money, so I got to be doing this for fun, right? Nah, it's all right. I made enough money to buy a webcam, so that's good. But no, I'm just in this because it, like I say, it helps me learn, and I like talking to you guys. Thank you for the posture check and for the hydrate. I'm actually my posture is good standing up like this. This helps me. This because you all have seen me on stream hunching over like a gremlin, but standing up makes me you know need to stand up straight. You doing this helps me learn too. That's awesome. See, everybody benefits, right? That's the kind of relationship that you want with your employer. Is that you get the monies, and the employer gets the value of your work and money based on the quality of your output. Nice casual streams like this are fun. Yeah, Rufio is so good at that. Rufio, if you're still here, you're like the master of the casual stream. I you can just like you just got that flow, man, and the funky dance moves. The dance moves are fire. Standing desks are great. Yeah. And this is like standing desks are expensive. This is just an IKEA table that like with the flexible legs, that with the legs fully extended. Probably not super safe, but super cheap. The prolonged eye contact. Your standing desk will probably be one of your first purchases after you get hired as a dev. Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's good for me just in the short time I've used it. I've got some squishy stuff under my feet. I got squishy shoes on, and I can kind of rock back and forth and move around. Oh, Rufio offers dance move lessons for $3,000 a lesson. Well, we got to crowdfund that. Ads dances are fire for sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay, what other questions you folks? I'm still going. I guess I was on the verge of ending, but we're rocking and we're rolling. So I'm willing to go until 11. I think I gotta like I do have work tomorrow, so I think 11's got to be my cutoff. But and I do also have to get up and like actually do like a work thing first thing. I gotta run a job, so I gotta make sure that when that alarm goes off, I get up. But we're okay for now. Everybody's like, how many channel points? Uh-oh, Rufio. Uh-oh. I think I see a channel point reward, or like you should set like a sub goal, Rufio, and then then have a dedicated dance stream if they meet it. Uh Intelligence asks, what's my work stack? So it's kind of in flux right now, but generally I use um we use a so it's this so I work with student data, right? And so we use uh, start with an Ellucian banner database, which is a very student focused kind of pre-built database. So it's called Ellucian banner. It's built for student tracking student data and that kind of thing. They have a bunch of like preset tables and that kind of thing. and then it's heavily modified to meet the needs of the university. So I do then most of my work in PL SQL Developer on custom tables that we've built on top of that Banner database. Um, and then also working with the native banner systems as well. And then once I've done my development work, we used ODI for mappings to and ODI and UC4 for job schedule. ODI for mapping, UC4 for job scheduling. Um, and then the end result of that is for user consumption, the tables then go to Cognos, IBM Cognos, for um, consumption by users and actually writing reports, and also Tableau a little bit as well for like visualizations. So yeah, it's a very like traditional stack. There's not a lot of cutting edge technology there, which makes sense for a university, right? They're going to be more traditional in the way they do things. That's par for the course. Um, so also, we don't use GitHub, which just blows my mind. We use CVS for CVS and traditional and just good old shared drives for file storing. So I'm hoping that we're transitioning to a new system now. Lots of new ways of doing things, and so I'm hoping to introduce GitHub into that environment just on my own. But we'll see how that goes. I believe so. Beverend asks, is solution software as a service? Is it on prem? So no, it's our version is on prem. I don't know if that's the case in all cases. A bunch of keys asked, I don't know if you answered this already, but did you join 100 devs with zero programming knowledge? So coming into this, I was already a SQL developer, so but exclusively working with SQL. So exclusively working on the back end, working with SQL. Um, I never touched any other programming languages, just SQL, and I picked up SQL on the job. So huge gaps in my knowledge, right? I didn't know any of the why of anything, and I didn't have any experience with any other language other than this one specific database language. So I'm new in the sense that I've never touched any other language or really known anything about how code is like structured in a more for more complex languages like JavaScript. Also, I'd never built a web page before, so never touched HTML or CSS or anything either. So it's been fun. I love this. It's so fun to actually build things with code rather than I mean I build things with code with SQL, but SQL is again it's a database language, so it's very focused on what it does. It works with databases. So actually building creative things with code is really cool. I dig it. I was not in the previous cohort. No, nope. I'm in the mix with y'all in this cohort. Everything is software as a service these days. Yeah, that's true. It's the it's the new way of doing things. Everything's subscription and cloud based, and you don't and nobody owns anything, and you're gonna like it. That seems to be the way it's going. Dem joins, yeah. Yeah, it's a whole Frankenstein of various like the tech stack at my work is it's kind of a Frankenstein, yeah. But like I say, we're that's actually going away. We're shifting to a slightly more modern stack, and so I'm looking forward to that. Sitting at 16K, what 16K what? I'm sitting at 16K for my stream, but 16K what? I'm curious. What does that mean? Rufio, oh man, I missed that joke the first time. Sounds like my only devs equivalent. That's awesome. Yeah, million channel points, Rufio. Million channel points. Oh, Chris, you're sitting at 16,000 channel points for my stream. Yeah, I need to come up with like another big reward. I don't know. I don't know what it should be. I have a hard time thinking of channel points things. But let me know. Let me know if y'all think of fun things to do for channel points because some of you guys, some of y'all are on every single one of my streams and y'all are racking them up. So feel free to think about it. All right, I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. We're down to about 15 minutes, so but I do really got to end at 11. So as much as I've enjoyed talking to y'all, again, I have work in the morning. So, but no, this has been super fun, way more fun than I thought it was going to be, and I'm digging it. Yeah, intelligence. So interesting. Most of us web devs went HTML, CSS first. So cool you were analyst to SQL to front end. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. So I feel like a lot of web devs, got their start in like Neopets and, playing around with HTML back in like, the early days of the web. Or MySpace or whatever. And I actually never had good enough internet growing up to even do any of that stuff. When we did have internet, it was extremely slow dial up, and so I was lucky to be able to visit like text pages. Right, there was no way I could visit MySpace, um, and so yeah, I kind of missed out on that whole era of like early web development. And like I say, I mean, I started as an analyst and just kind of staggered into this whole world. Yeah, it's so interesting how you can just you can enter tech at so many different points, right? It's so there's there's so many different ways you can get into it. Yeah, and that's what I love about it. It's great. Intelligence, hard stop, project manager style. Yeah. You gotta love the hard stop. I love it. When somebody says they got a hard stop, you respect the hard stop. Yep. Yep. I've used that phrase more than once in real life meetings. Like, hey folks, welcome to the meeting. Just letting you know right now I've got a hard stop at 2 p.m. and so we'll see what we can get done in the time that we have. I've definitely said that in real life. You start using all like the business jargon that you might hear on TV shows as like a joke, and then you use it for real, like you know on my radar, or circle back to this, or oh, what's some other jargon? You don't even think about it, and it just comes out of your mouth, and you're like, what did I just use that in like non-ironically? But you did. MySpace and Neopets, the good old days. Yeah. GeoCity is AOL hometown. Yeah. Chemo says, I begged my mom for a computer when I was like 10 years old. It was a priority. Yeah, I had a computer, but it didn't have any internet. And I didn't have anybody. So, part of that is environment too, right? I didn't have anybody that I knew, or, anybody in my like physical vicinity that knew anything about computers really. And so I had no jumping off point. I didn't know that coding was a thing. I didn't know anything. I knew I liked computers. I had fun playing games on the computer, but I didn't know anything that you could even like manipulate the computer in any sort of way. So, yeah. Um, what's the quickest way to learn SQL? So there's some good resources out there. I mean, I think there's some good courses. Like you could always do like a code academy or something like that, or just look for free SQL tutorials and that kind of thing. Don't pay for anything. Um, get some basic like know the basic syntax of a SQL query. Know how to write a select statement, and maybe you know how to write a select statement. Know how to write an insert statement, and then know the different types of joins, like the basic types of joins. Um, Inner, outer, or left, right. You know, know the basic types of joins and know how to explain them. And just knowing that basic syntax and the basic logic of joins will get you pretty far. Um, like I said, over half the battle of learning SQL is just learning the data structures that you're going to be trying to work with. Knowing your company's data, and the company should be training you on that anyway. Yeah, Linda, that's right. SQL Bolt. I've heard that's a good one. So look up SQL Bolt, and that should be a good introduction. I've heard good things about. I haven't looked at it personally, but I've heard good things. Piece of shoot. My first computer was a Commodore 64. It used cassette tapes. Oh, that's so cool. Kurtog, you must have played a lot of solitaire without internet. I did. I am actually pretty darn good at solitaire because I played a lot of it. You remember those, for those of you that had Windows 95, remember when Windows actually used to come with games and they were good? I played me some, that snake game, like the one with the two snakes. Like I played Rodent's Revenge. I played Ski Free. Um, what are some of the other ones? Yeah, Solitaire, obviously. Spider Solitaire. I think that was a like a Windows XP one. But even when I moved to like a Windows XP computer, we still didn't have internet. So again, I played all the Windows XP games. The one with the bouncy ball, the breakout type game. I played Spider Solitaire. Um, the pinball game, which is a eternal classic. 3D pinball. Yep, I'm pretty good at all those. I even just sat and watched the Windows 95 screensaver that was like the maze, and you go through the maze. You know, 5-year old me was pretty invested in that maze. Lots of MS Paint. Oh, yeah. I'm feeling the nostalgia here. Oh, yeah. I never had Windows 3.1. I was a little bit too young for that. We started, my first computer that my parents got was Windows 95. It was a Packard Bell. All right, I feel like things are slowing down here a little bit, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna refresh the raid here, but feel free, if you got more questions, feel free to get them in. But I'm gonna start looking for somebody to raid here. Let's see, is Melody still going? Let's see, Melody. What's their Is Melody just Melody Dev, one word? Hey, Harry Potter, welcome. We're actually just getting ready to end this stream, and we're gonna go raid somebody else who's pretty cool. So feel free to stick around if you wanna go into the unknown on a raid. Oh, Leah Codes. Okay, I'm seeing some recommendations for Leah T Codes. All right, Leah T Codes. Well, let's hit him up. Leah T Codes. Oh yeah, all right. Here we go. Yeah, thanks so much for coming, guys. We had a really fun time. Come back tomorrow. We're gonna do some. We're gonna fill out the bank, and we're gonna get you all jobs. So, all right, hitting up, starting the raid. It always takes a minute to pick up. So we're raiding now. Oh, thank you so much, MRSA. Oh yeah, Leah. Okay, I remember. Yeah, I know them as Lee 1097. Okay, all right. We're gonna raid them. Come on. Did it go? Okay.
Mine will. No, okay, Streamlabs, please don't freeze. Okay. Hi everyone, my name's Leah and I'm also in 100 devs. I'm currently in the cohort with all of you. Let's see. Okay. Okay, I think it's working. My like Streamlabs is kind of frozen. I'm so sorry.